Hey everybody, this is M.E Thomas. I'm here with Dorian and Cassy, Chocolate Autizzy. I'm going to ask you both the same question I ask everybody, which is, what is it like to be you?
Cassy, I'll let you go first.
Okay. What is it like to be me? It is draining. Right now, I am recovering from a mental breakdown because of a lot of emails that I've been receiving over the past year and things in my personal life. So it's draining, emotionally draining.
The emails, are they like related to you personally, or they're like other people's drama or something?
Um, Mostly other people that think that they're sociopaths contacting me and telling me about it. And my response is if you think you're a sociopath, you're probably not, because most sociopaths wouldn't even care. But like the things in the emails that I read are disturbing. And at first, it didn't affect my mental health, but like after a year and receiving like a couple hundred emails, now it's like taking a toll on my mental health.
Mm, interesting. Do you just like think I'm not going to read these?
I always read them, but I barely reply.
Why do you always read them if it's like taking a toll on your mental health?
Because I'm intrigued. Like I'm interested in other, because not everyone that emails me is neurodivergent, but the majority of them are people that either are emotionally handicapped or they have problems with emotional regulation or they've been through trauma or they're like a victim that became a victimizer. Like I've had several um I'm trying to say this in a way that is YouTube friendly. Predators message me. Like
Oh,
people
I
that have
see.
served time have
Do
and
you
they
mean
came
do you mean like grapists? I think is the term that we
rapists.
use.
Yes, I've had rapists contact me that identify as psychopaths. They use the word psychopath, not sociopath. And they wanted to tell me why they did what they did.
Hmm.
Yeah, but just see right immediately there. I think that they're probably not because why? Like me personally, if I was like inclined that way, I wouldn't need to justify myself to anybody, let alone a stranger on the internet who I've never met. So immediately, the whole mechanics of that just scream that that's probably some sort of a there's a phrase like a moral reasoning, if you will. Oh well, if I'm like this mentally disordered this way, then I can feel better about myself, and we're not like that at all.
I do not understand the logic behind it. Like you said, like why would someone email some stranger that they barely know because they saw them on a internet or whatever? But I think it's just people just wanting to like be seen in a weird type of way. Like one of the emails from the rapist, this person said that they were assaulted when they were a child, and that's why they feel like assaulting children. And they said that they don't do that anymore after being incarcerated and serving time and finding Jesus, but it still leaves me with disgust a little bit because, well, not a little bit, a lot, because I don't understand the logic behind that. I'm someone that was also assaulted as a child, and I have never had the thought of doing the same to another human being. So I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just found out there's a famous musician, kind of pseudo famous. I forget his name though. He was like, you guys keep talking, I'll tell you, but that this happened to him too. So he was going to be like the fifth member of the Beatles. Uh,
Oh wow, so
and
this is going a while back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
he's and then he's like really well beloved and like whatever, but he had this kind of happen to him. Billy Preston is his name.
I've
So
heard the
he
name.
Yeah, I know he is This is the AI Google thing. Preston played the Fender Rhodes electric piano, organ, piano, and harpsichord. He played on Get Back, the Beatles song. Get back to where you
Do you know
once
what? I mean,
belonged.
I'm from Merseyside, but I'm not big on the Beatles.
Okay. I good for you for being able to admit that, Dorian. But then I guess so he was molested as a child, actually because he was a professional musician as a child, and so the like the pianist or whoever, the rehearsal pianist would molest him. And then he got arrested when he was like in his 50s for picking up like a day laborer in Los Angeles, you know, like at the like Home Depot or Lowe's or something. There are often people that are waiting to work. And so he picked up a day laborer who was 16, took him back to his like Hollywood Hills, whatever mansion, and then, you know, like got him drunk or drugged or something, and then was like, you know, trying to molest him because he had such internal, he says this, I think, that he had such internal uh emotional strife regarding the fact that he was molested and also that he was gay. He felt like he was gay, but he's part of like the greater kind of African American community of gospel Christianity where he felt like he was in like severe tension with his faith. So I can see what you're saying. And in this situation, I mean, I don't know if we know any more facts than that. We don't know the gruesome details, certainly, or I don't know them. And what do you think about that, Cassie? Like Billy Preston, is that like
I
disturbing to you too?
I this is my first time hearing about Billy Preston.
Hmm.
But uh, it all is disturbing to me because it's obviously taking a toll on my mental health.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well,
and the
and it
reason
makes
why,
sense because it's you. That's what happened to you. You were a childhood victim, right?
mhm. Yeah, and to answer your question earlier, like the reason why I respond, well, not respond, but I read most of them is because most of them are not like that. Like most of them are like from nurses or teachers that are just like emotionally numb. Like they just become desensitized.
Hmm.
And I've had to tell like nurses and teachers, like, nope, you're not a sociopath. You're just a human. So yeah, like not all of the emails are that disturbing.
Interesting. So people, so can you want to send a message out to people? Stop emailing you about
Trauma dumping. It's trauma. It's essentially it's trauma dumping.
yeah.
So
Yes.
if you yeah, if you'll excuse me 1 second, I've got the urge for a cigarette, so I'm just going to grab my cigarette. They're just over there. I'll be
Okay.
2 seconds off camera. Just keep discussing.
Yeah. So trauma dumping.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's especially if it's you know about anything about like child, you know, sexualizing children, you don't want to hear about it, right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I do not want to hear about it. I believe that that is the exact word for what it is. It's trauma dumping.
Mm,
Um, and I think a lot of people just don't feel comfortable talking to a therapist or a family member or a friend about certain things, especially if it's along the lines of like something as extreme as like being a person that was victimized and then becoming a victimizor, especially if they you know, serve jail time for what they did. Like I think it's easier for individuals like that to like find a stranger on the internet to trauma dump to than a
mm,
person in their real life that might judge them. Like I'm definitely judging certain people that email me, not everyone. But like I think that's why they do it to trauma dump because maybe they feel like they don't have anyone else to trauma dump on. But it's yeah, it's definitely affecting me. It wasn't at first, but after a year of coming out of the closet as like a neurodivergent person with emotional regulation issues and then having people contact me and tell me their stories. Some stories are like some of them like I see myself in, and I'm sure if you read some of them, or maybe I can
Oh,
screenshot and
do you
send you
mean
some like you'd see
sure.
yourself
mirrors?
in. But sorry, what I
Yes, I
apologize.
was just going to ask. Do you mean that some stories that you've had sent to you, Cassie? Do you mean that they mirror what you went through?
Yeah, I think the majority, excluding the pervs that email me, because sometimes it's just pervs. But like the people that genuinely email me, I think a lot of them are either neurodivergent or they struggle with being, emotionally handicapped, whether that is having ASPD or alexithymia or atadonia or dysthymia or just like emotional numbness in general, like apathy in general. Like maybe they see something that they connect with and they want to contact me to like see if I can, help them go through whatever they're going through. But some things should people should keep to themselves. And I know I sound hypocritical
Yeah,
saying that because
preach.
I talk about my life online, but I don't know.
No, I can't agree. Some people just really, they don't need to just shut up, but they need to not speak in the first place. Especially on. I mean, I can't. I mean, again, this is just me, but I don't have to. I don't have to unload on anyone. You know, to be honest, it's ironic because they're saying that you're getting people emailing you going, "Oh, I'm a psychopath because I did this and that and the other." But it's like you're literally trying to. You're saying that, but what you're doing is you're unburdening your conscience. It's like you clearly have a conscience about what you did. Like, so it's an oxymoronic. The whole thing is just flawed from the ground up. But yeah, but no, she shouldn't. I mean, I'd say ironically, take the psychopathic approach. Stop caring. Stop reading them. You do you, Cassie. And do you know what? It'll do you wonders. Promise, it will.
Mm, that's good advice.
And
But yes,
then Dorian, do you want to answer what is it like to be you?
right, lately it's been good. As I discussed on the last time we talked here, I'm on probation for possession of an illegal weapon in a private residence. 2 counts of that. There was an original charge of attempted possession of a firearm. I managed to beat that on a technicality. I studied the law, as I was, between the period of being, you know, released from custodial, well, custody, and then being charged and then awaiting trial. Um, and it's good. I had the opportunity to. I mean, I'll touch on that actually briefly, but so I am when I was put on probation, so this is after I've been sentenced, I got a community order because if that charge for the gun hadn't have been dropped, I wouldn't be here doing this. I'd be in prison for 6 to 8 years. And so I got a community order, a year's probation, court fine, community service, rehabilitation days. I have to do certain things to prove that I'm a changed man. And but when I was put on probation, I thought to myself, well, how does probation treat people who are diagnosed with ASPD, with antisocial personality disorder? And I've been on probation before this for criminal damage, public disorder, and I just more or less played it cool. I was the minimum category offender, so I'd only have to have appointments once a month for a year. It doesn't really take a toll on your life. But I thought to myself, well, how does probation treat psychopaths? How does probation treat sociopaths? So I saw this opportunity to do my own little experiment. And so when you start probation here in the UK, you have like a main, it's almost like an interview rather than a probationary meeting, although it's classed as a meeting, and they ask you a bunch of questions. They say, why did you offend? Do you see yourself reoffending again in the future? And in the past, I've just lied on all of that. Like I've just flat out lied completely. And but this time, I thought I'm gonna tell the truth and see where it gets me. And because that's what our justice system is based on, right? You got to be honest, you got to be good. And so I told the truth, and you know, I was saying things like, you know, they asked me, was I sorry about what I did, and I said no. That, you know, am I going to reoffend? Oh, probably, definitely, you know. And I got raised. So me being honest was actually a bad thing for me. It turned out, because I got immediately raised from a category 0 to a category 2, which is the like highest risk person, because they evaluate, are you a risk to staff, are you a risk to the police, are you a risk to reoffending, and a bunch of other things which I can't remember. But I got the highest score in all of those areas, so I immediately got catted up to a level 2. So since February up until September, once a week I've had to go into probation for meetings, and they gave me, when he walked out, my probation officer in the office, I could immediately tell they've put their A game guy on this. I'm like, this guy's confidence. Like, I'm looking at the way he walks and everything, and I'm like, all right, okay, this is gonna be a good one. You know what I mean? And he has a degree in criminology and psychology, and at first it was kind of like, you know, I'm gonna whittle this guy down. Like, he's not gonna get the better of me. I'm running these meetings. I may have to turn up, but you ain't getting nothing from me. But he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. But those have ended now, because, well, it's been in the news that the government, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he's ran an early release scheme, you know, because our prisons are that full. He's for certain offenders who are like category C and category B. I'm a category B criminal offender. I've never been done for a category C offence. I've only ever been done for category B, which puts me at like medium level and ebook cat A. But there's been a lot of early releases to free up room in the prisons, and so because of that, all of those prisoners are put on probation. So the supervisory period of my community sentence has now ended early because of this. So whilst in one part I'm like, I disagree with that, because it means there's more drug dealers on the streets, but for me it means I get to not have to go to probation anymore. So you know what I mean? I'm very morally flexible in that in that aspect. But
Yeah.
so I've got more of my life back now, because I don't have to go to probation anymore unless I change my name, phone number, or address. And a new one they've added recently is if you have any new online personas. If you have a new online persona, so like, you know, my moniker Teddy Bateman, they legally have to know about that. And so he knows about my diagnosis, and he was asking me all sorts of questions. My probation officer said to me the last time that we ever had a meeting, he said that he learned a lot from me. You know, I taught him a thing or two, you know, on about lying and things like that. And he said, you know, he said, I have learned things from you. And the thing that he didn't like, though, he said, I don't like being a guinea pig as part of your own little experiment. And I just said to him, look, did you really expect me to let you have all the power? And we laughed. He's a great guy. I'll buy him a drink if I ever bump into him. But
Yeah.
so I'm more free now. You know, I'm working hard. But affectively, what it's like to be me, you're going to be very you're so I'm very high in neuroticism, like abnormally high. So as far as dating goes, you know, I don't do it. I don't really approach women. It's not that you know, when I was in school, like talking to girls was great. That was the only reason why I went to school, was girls. You know, I loved it.
That's
But
the
now,
only reason why you went to school was girls.
oh, if I'd have been put into an all boys school, you wouldn't have seen me there, because what is the point? I mean, there's no, you know what I mean? But nowadays, it's just so the dating landscape is just abysmal, and you know, that's a whole other,
I
that's a part
agree. I agree.
of itself. Yeah. But so there's that. You know, you're going to be very neurotic. You're like a to be me. It's kind of like you're a vampire. You know, you are, you know, you're human. You know, I mean, I don't literally believe I am a vampire. You know, I know I'm a human being and the rest of it. But you feel inside, you know, you're like, I have these arms, I have these hands, I have these fingers, but it's almost like they're not mine. They're just affecting my will or affecting it. And you know, you play with people, and you like to you just like to see what you can get out of them. Like a lot of people have been very open to me, almost without reason. But we
But I
have that
think,
kind of,
sorry, I apologize. Is it okay if we like interject, Jamie?
yes, please
I think so.
do.
Yeah. Go ahead, interject.
Okay. So like I also feel like that disassociation with my body. Like sometimes I feel like, okay, well, like I could very well be put, like my soul could be put in somebody else's body, and like I'd probably be like the same, but I'd be a man or whatever, Like
Yeah, yeah, in a way. So with me, it's like I'm my soul. Um, I mean, ironically, I mean, a lot of people who've been close to me, you know, in the past and in recent, like the mother of my, I have a kid, and and my kid's mum, you know, she said to me for years, she said, "You have no soul." She said, "You're the most." She said to me, "You're the most soulless and callous human being that I'm ever going to come across in all my life." And but it kind of, I'll tell you what you're one way what it's like to be me. You will get told very weird, specific things that nobody has ever else had said to them. Like my dad said to me once, he said, "What do you want to do for a job, for a career?" And you know, I said, you know what, I haven't really thought of that. You know, I could be anything. You know, I could be a lawyer, I could be a doctor. You know, I could literally do anything that I want to if I really wanted to. But I don't really have a particular career in mind. And my dad said to me only about a year ago, he said, "You'd make the perfect hitman or assassin." And I I was really like, I was somewhat, you know, I was surprised, and I was, yeah, I mean, I was expecting maybe he'd say I'd make a good salesperson or something like that. But he said to me, "You'd make the perfect hitman." I said, "Why is that, Dad?" And he just looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Because you are the most callous person I've ever met." He said, "You just have no concern for human life other than your own." He said, "You really," he said, "when it comes to you, you know, you've got, you know, I've got to be preserved in like bulletproof glass, and but everybody else, it's just like they're like tissues, you know, you use them once and then you grab a new one." And I mean, I know that mentality is, it's not productive, you know, for myself. You know, I mean, I want to have a, you know, like you yourself, Jamie, you have friends, you have a relationship, and you're distorted in the same way as me. And yeah, it's like we almost live polar opposite existences. And I do look up to you as somewhat of a role model in a way. And but it's like I can't it's just I can't seem to make the change. I've tried to seek therapy. Every therapist has turned me down. They've read my diagnosis, and not only is it the recognized, you know, ASPD psychopathy of the diagnosis, but it's the one diagnostic trait that always lets me down is I'll read it out as it's exactly worded. It's a very low tolerance to frustration and a low threshold for discharge of aggression, including violence. There was one therapist who agreed to sit down with me not long ago, and she took a look at my diagnosis. And, you know, like I've done a bunch of tests, as I've mentioned on here before. I score either in the high or extremely high on the spectrum for psychopathy, you know, on the Levinson self report psychopathy scale, the tri PM, You know, you can look these up and you'll know. But she looked at all of this and she said, look, at we, because it was in like a private clinic. It wasn't like at her house or anything, you know. So there's other people there. And she said to me, look, Dorian, she said, we have children who come here who've been like, you know, battered and bruised and all sorts, and you know, people who are very vulnerable who come here to get over being abused. And she said, I can't have somebody who's a quote unquote violent psychopath just in this office. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, in that moment, I mean, truly, I mean, I really wanted to hurt her badly because,
Sorry. May I say something, please?
please do.
Okay, so I could understand what you're saying, not as far as wanting to hurt the therapist, but um the discrimination that psychiatrists and therapists have towards people with what I would refer to as emotional handicaps is disgusting. Um, like I think it's wrong for therapists, and I understand therapists are human, and if they don't want to take a patient, they don't have to. But like even with my misdiagnosis, like I went into a therapist. Well, I was 5150 and I went into a therapist's office and she wanted to know how I was feeling and I said I felt nothing. And she wrote down that I was being uncompliant. And all I could think about at the time was like, what? Well, I told you the truth, you know? But I think the majority of therapists and psychiatrists have this like neurotypical lens of what someone that is a sociopath or psychopath or someone
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
emotionally handicapped like is like, and they don't understand that like we are human beings, we've had childhoods, a lot of us have had traumatic things happen in childhood, and like if we're in therapy 9 times out of 10 we're there because we have a problem in our life that we need help with. We're not there to like harm the therapist, you know? So like
yeah,
her rejecting you
completely.
is wrong in my opinion.
No, yeah, exactly. Like I wasn't. So this therapist was £50 an hour. I didn't pay her, by the way. I said I looked at her. I said, "You're not getting paid for this," and I walked out because I'm not. You sit me in a room for half an hour and you're telling me, oh, you know, you're a violent psychopath, and I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not paying you my hard-earned money for you to tell me that. You know, and I'm not the kind who's like I've been violent in the past, and you know, I've caused a lot of pain and harm to people, but with me, you know, it's never been. You know, I'm not the kind of guy who holds people up with a knife, who jumps out of the bushes and scares you in the night. I'm not that guy. If you provoke me, if you do something against me, then something can happen. You know, and you know, this therapist, she just it was almost like she took it. Oh well, there's vulnerable people here. You've got a history of violence, but she didn't want to talk about why that violence had occurred. She just didn't apply.
Exactly.
She didn't. She didn't
Mhm.
ask me. You know, like I've had times where I've actually thought I've killed people, very, you know, very truthfully, and you know, I mean, I've always, you know, I mean, it's never really been. It's not that it hasn't been on my radar, but it just hasn't. It hasn't heightened me, so to speak. But this therapist, so after that, and I'm not the kind of guy who gives up easy, but it's been over a year. It's been 365 days of emails and countless phone calls and just constant being told, oh, I'll speak to my supervisor. Oh, I'm not
Mhm.
qualified enough, and this, that,
Oh,
and the
hmm, yes.
other.
Sorry, I want to interject. So like I've also heard that from therapists, like I'm not qualified to treat you because I've been through a lot of trauma. And like what I think about whenever I hear a therapist say that is how is it that you've gotten your degree and you're in this line of work and you don't know how to treat patients that have been through trauma. Because most of the time, if someone's seeking therapy, they've been through some type of trauma. And what I've learned is that the majority of therapists are actually not taught how to treat patients with trauma. Like there's specialized therapists, there's trauma therapists to help people with trauma, but a lot of trauma therapists do not accept my health insurance. I have Medicaid, and they only accept like out of pocket or like a different health insurances. So right now I don't have a therapist, and the discrimination that I've faced as someone that is like psychopath adjacent, because I have alexithymia, which isn't psychopathy, has just been disgusting because I feel othered. I feel like a bad person when I'm trying to get help. And I'm not someone that like treats I'm not someone that engages in sociopathic behavior. And when I did engage in sociopathic behavior a couple years ago, I was homeless. And it was during that time that I was homeless that I was 5150 and I was diagnosed with ASPD. And the first thing I thought about, like after being re-diagnosed with alexithymia, is like, why did she not believe me? Like when I said I felt nothing. And that's because a lot of people, especially people that are neurotypical, that don't have experience with trauma or that have no experience with being apathetic, they don't know what it feels like to feel nothing. So they're just like, this patient is uncompliant. This patient is unresponsive. I can't help them, or they don't want to be helped. When, like, in actuality, like, if a patient says I feel nothing, sometimes they really don't feel anything, and like that needs to be recognized as a valid response. And like, yeah, like I understand that there are some people with ASPD that identify as sociopaths or psychopaths that are bad people. Like I've had uh, rapists email me. I've had people that, beat people up email me that spent time in prison and, want to be better people. And they're also having a hard time finding a therapist because most therapists and psychiatrists feel like these people can't be helped. But like, if someone is that far on the spectrum of psychopathy, like that extreme on the spectrum, I feel like it would make more sense to like get those people therapy and like actually help them so that they don't um so that they're not repeat offenders. Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
And I
yeah.
don't know where the empathy is with these clinicians. Like, do they not have empathy for people that have trouble feeling empathy?
Well, the well,
It's wrong.
yeah. Well, the only way that I'm going to get therapy now, because I tried to go through the NHS first before going private, so that there wouldn't be a financial burden on it. But the NHS has a point system for criteria, and you have to have a diagnosis, which I have, but you also have to be considered like more or less dangerous or non-functioning. And because it says in my report, it says I have long-term employment. It's like, well, yes and no. I've been employed for the majority of, well, for somewhat of my adult life, but it's always been from this job to this job to this job. And that's the thing I've noticed with psychopaths. We always jump from job to job to job because at some point we defy the authority. And again, there's like the criminal offending. Like I'm now, I'm a repeat offender, and it's like I have goals. Like I want to be, I want to be married, and I want to, I want to have a family, and like these things are all, really nice things. But when I have the opportunity to do something that's, bad, I mean that's just irresistible. Do you know what I mean? That's just like a beautiful woman laid in front of you. You just can't really say. It's almost like you can't. It's in our nature to do it. And
But
then
that's why you should be in therapy. And the
well,
fact that
yeah,
like
and
that lady said
the
no to you is
other
wild.
yeah, well, the other thing is that you see, even like what you were saying, like just before, like in my diagnosis, it says that I was a manager because they asked me about my employment, but because the nurse was a good-looking woman, I didn't want her to think lowly. I didn't want her to think bad of me, which is like the NPD sort of kicking up a notch. But so I lied to her and I said that I was a manager at somewhere, and I'm not. I've never held a managerial position in my life. So, so, but during this, she believed it. It's literally it's in my report, and then when I finally got it, I was reading it and I was like, "Oh, did I say that? Or did I?" Well, I clearly did. But yeah, that's the thing with me. But it's just, and it's obviously again somebody, somebody like me, like I can recognize that I need the therapy, but I'm not emotionally driven to really do it. So now that I've been turned down so many times, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And my baby's mother worries about this more than me because she says, I know you're going to end up in prison. She said it for years. I mean, I'm 20, I'm coming up to 24 now, and she's been saying it since I was 18, way before I was diagnosed or even suspected anything. I mean, she suspected it, but I didn't. So I'm just talking about me. But she's always said, you're going to end up in prison one of these days because you just don't care about what it's not that you don't care about what you do, it's that you just don't care, if that makes sense. But I have these goals in the outside world that I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to achieve them. I plan on. I mean, this is probably an unusual thing, but so when I was in court for the illegal weapons that I mentioned earlier, I was all right. In the UK, you have two. So how it works is you get charged with an offence, which means the police have deemed you guilty of some sort of legal infraction, whatever that may be, and you have to go to a magistrate's court. You have the magistrate, and then you have the Crown, which is like the Crown is the serious business. And I mean, talking category A, paedophiles, murderers, terrorists, the worst of the worst. And the magistrates, they prosecute category B and C offenders. I'm category B. I always have been. I've never been category C before in my life. But I mean, I've done category C things, but I've never been caught. But the so I get to court, and what you have to do is you enter a plea. You have the first hearing, which is where you say, they go over the facts, they go guilty or not guilty, and you have the opportunity to go, yes, I did it, or you have the opportunity to say, no, I didn't do it. And so I went guilty because they had me banged to rights, and I knew it was better to play it that way. So I pled guilty, and then I went to magistrates court. I got sentenced in the Liverpool magistrates court, and it's got a big statue in front of it of Queen Victoria, and it's a really nice one. But yeah, that's where I went. So you have two levels of prosecution.
It's interesting. People have mentioned with regard to this thing about therapy. So I am on the advisory board for Psychopathy Is the nonprofit, and they have like a whole like page, with graphics and stuff about how much harm people say that psychopaths, or kind of similar type of people, uh, cause. They cause billions of dollars every year and such, and they cost all these things, and that's why they're so such a threat to society. But it's like, well, why is nobody treating Dorian then?
Mhm, mhm.
Because
And
tell you
may I
why.
say something? I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Well,
but like I received so many emails. I shouldn't say so many. Throughout the year, probably like 500, 600. But like from people that say, I need help. I need to go to therapy. I need a psychiatrist. I want to have friends. I want to have a relationship. I want to have a life. I hate that I'm like this. And like they, if they are honest with the mental health clinician, that clinician says, okay, well, I'm going to refer you to someone that it specializes in this or that. And then like that person 9 times out of 10 doesn't take their health insurance. And that person is just left out alone. Like
Yeah, yeah, I
I,
had this. I actually the therapist who I refused to pay. She said to me, "Oh, I'm gonna ask around and I'm gonna see if anybody who I know would treat you, and I'll let you know if they will or not." I haven't heard from her. Do you really think she's taking the time out of her day to call or to even text a quote on, as she says, a violent psychopath to let them know, oh, well, or he or she can help you? No, she hasn't. I could tell as well, as we were sat in the room, as she was reading my diagnosis, like her eyes were like widening, and I was like, right, this person's like clearly like on edge. Like she was just on edge. She was like very not. She wasn't sporadic, but she was very stiff and minimal but sharp in her movements, and she was clearly trying to make the conversation reach a conclusion so that she could get me out. Like she realized who
Mhm.
exactly she was sat in a room with. And there
Yeah.
isn't even like I have no history on harming women. Like I'm a very chivalrous guy. That's how I was raised by my dad. You hold doors open for women. You mind her purse, and please and thank you. And I really like I'll always maintain that till the day I die. That's how society thrives. We need more chivalrous and gentlemanly men who care
Yeah.
about these things. But
I believe, oh crap. Sorry. I don't know when to like speak.
Just
yes,
jump
Um
in. There's no need to be sorry. It's a free for all. There's no
okay.
this is
playbook
why
that we're playing
yeah,
by.
this is why I love this channel, because it is just a free for all. We're not politically correct. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't you explain that, Cassie, to the audience, so just so they know?
Oh, well, I think you pretty much explained it. Yeah, I love how Jamie runs her channel, her podcast. It's very, free, like free for all. I'm like a polite person because I grew up in a Trinidadian household, like
Mm.
Afro-Caribbean household, where like if I spoke when someone was speaking, I would get slapped. So so like I'm very polite. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that this is just my observation. Dorian can go on for a while, and so if you want to interrupt him, I feel like that just helps.
Do it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, I'm all for it. Do it.
Okay. So yeah, like I've now heard like hundreds of stories like Dorian's, and it is making me angry. And like that's part of the reason, like the stuff in my personal life, and also just hearing all these people, and a lot of them are decent human beings. Like some, yes, are repeat offenders. I'm not talking about the people that are rapists or anything like that, but like people like Dorian said, he would never hurt a woman. Like people that are like genuinely like not that bad or whatever, like they want to get help, they want to be productive members of society, and because of them being differently sentient, like clinicians are just saying, nope, I'm not gonna. Well, they're not saying that, but they're just saying, well, we think you should seek a provider that specializes in autism or special, because a lot of autistic people also have trouble with emotional regulation or emotional blindness or emotional numbness. And I wish that like the American, because I'm friendly with like one person on the American Psychiatric Association, and like I wish that like the psychiatrists and you know people that practice mental health, like mental health practitioners in the Western world, I wish that they would acknowledge how much of the population is not on the extreme end of psychopathy. I believe 10% of Americans have alexithymia. And there's a greater amount of those individuals that might have traits of psychopathy. And I have had emails and I've met a few people in real life that are nurses, teachers, police officers, people that work in law, like, lawyers or paralegals that say, you know what, I struggle with emotions, I struggle with empathy, but they put on this like veneer of normalcy because they know that they have to, that they're a part of society, and we're living in a neurotypical society. Society isn't built for people that are neurodivergent, and neurodivergence, you know, it's a wide net, like autism, ADHD. I would even say that psychopathy and sociopathy and alexithymia and anhedonia and dysthymia are all parts of like neurodivergence, because when you have a different way of thinking, that actually starts to change your brain, you know? So like if 10% of the population is on the spectrum of psychopathy, like, and we're not out here killing and raping and hurting people, then like why wouldn't they see somebody like Dorian? Like why would a therapist, like I get it, like if you look at him, like maybe, you know, it's like, ooh, tattoos, but it's like, so what? You're a human being, and like their job is to like help other human beings that are struggling mentally, and they're refusing to do that, and they don't know that when they go to the doctor, like their nurse, like I'm I shouldn't say friends, but like I talked to this lady, and she's a nurse at New York Presbyterian, and she says when she goes into work, she has to like shut off her empathy because every single day she has people that are crying, people that are in pain, people that are just suffering, and she has to like put on this veneer of like happiness and normalcy, and she has to be upbeat, and she's like, yeah, I feel nothing, but like this is my job, and like I need to do this because her coworkers are in the back like drinking or doing coke to be able to like do their job, and she's able to like push through it. And I feel like people aren't aware of like how many people are just struggling to cope with living in a society that is fake. Like I used to think that like my like having to, you know, mask my neurodivergence, that this was like something that was special like onto me, you know, like this is so hard having to say, you know, good afternoon to people like that I don't really care about, and then like I'm not having a good afternoon, so then I feel like a liar for saying good afternoon, you know. But like this is how society is. Like if you walk into an establishment, or if you're working somewhere and you don't greet your coworkers, you're seen as like a bitch or an asshole. So like it's just like these little things that like stresses people like me out. Like maybe not people that are, you know, psychopaths or that have ASPD, but like those of us that have alexithymia or dysthymia or anhedonia or just like major depression, like it raises our blood pressure to be like, I'm fine and everything's great, and I'm just gonna like do this job, because you have to have a job in order to work, in order to make money in society. But like a lot of people are suffering, and there's a lot of people that are emotionally numb in society, and like psychiatrists and therapists say that like, oh, these people are bad people. It's like, well, you might as well say that the police officer that you called when you called 911 is a bad person, or the nurse that took your blood to test for whatever is a bad person, or the teacher that's teaching your kid is a bad person, because these are the people that are emailing me. And like I've had teachers to say these kids are horrible, I want to quit my job, when I walk in there I have anxiety, but I just have to zone out because this is my job. And so many people are like emotionally numb in society and just faking it, and like nobody's not talking about it. I don't know why. Sorry, I'm going on a rant. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love the rant.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, but it just sucks. Like it angers me to, cuz like that guy that is like trying to like tell me like why he is assaulted a child or whatever, like if he can't find a therapist, because he also said like he's looking for a therapist, but therapists don't want to treat him, like obviously, you know why, like god forbid that man is going to go out and repeat offend again because he can't get help. Like they're just like, okay, you're on a list, you're a bad person, and he is a bad person. But like in order for like bad people not to continue, you know, doing bad things, like they should get treatment, you know, because they just cast a net over anyone that struggles with emotional numbness, that this person is a bad person, when it's a spectrum. Like, not everybody is going to be a rapist or a serial killer.
No,
I'm done. Sorry.
we more or less get blacklisted. I actually wrote. It's been a while, and I meant to do this last time, but I thought we could do like a regular reading of my journal. So I do keep a journal. I've kept it since it's been a year now, October. And I wrote in it, I'm sure, when I came home after seeing the therapist. We can do a reading if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's October the 19th, Saturday. So I went to therapy and was out after half an hour. But I had the hour booked, by the way. So after half an hour, that's exactly that's how long it lasted. Um,
Mhm.
I won't say her name, but the doctor took a look at the details of my diagnosis and the traits identified by the psychologist on the NHS. Apparently, she can't have a quote unquote violent psychopath in the offices due to the vulnerabilities of other patients. Pathetic, absolute joke. When I've paid my debts and sorted myself out, I'm honestly debating on whether just to attack somebody at random and get purposefully arrested. The only way I'll get therapy is in prison at this rate, and that's it. It's a very short one.
Oh no. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't just attack a random person.
Well, what option does society leave me, Cassy?
Yeah. The system is broken. Like, it's just broken.
Uh,
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, how else am I gonna? I mean, if no therapist on the outside world will see me, and I want to have therapy, and it isn't. It isn't right at all that I'm just blacklisted. I mean, it took me a year to get one therapist to see me, a whole year. I can't
Mhm.
go. I can't go the rest of my life this way. So why
Yeah.
not just accelerate the process to meet my needs?
I really wish I knew what to tell you, but I don't. Like, that's why I don't respond to most of the emails that I get, because I don't know what to say. Like, what do you say? And they say that, like, people like us have no empathy, but then, like, where is the empathy for the emotionally disabled? Like, there's no empathy for people like you or people like me. Like, it's ridiculous. And, like, I don't think this world is conducive to, like, emotional stability and happiness. Like, it's really not. Especially, like, with, like, death, the death of the third space. Like, there's no more like free spaces where people could just, like, hang out and, like, like chill together. I don't know. I don't know. The internet was supposed to, like, bring us together, and everyone is just, like, more far apart than they've ever been. And it's
No,
just
I agree with
weird.
that completely. People are more divided than ever because they've been brought together by the internet. But I mean, I mean, are you gonna? I know I'm right on that. That ain't up for debate. I know I'm right, but
I agree. Yeah, it's more divided than it's ever been. When the
as the
internet was
internet has
supposed to bring us together.
progressed, society has devolved. But yeah, that's my journey with therapy. There isn't one. I got told to leave after half an hour. So there you go.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, I'm just focusing on. I mean, do you know what? I'm honestly considering maybe university. Maybe being a probation worker. I think I could do that. As I've been, I mean, at the current moment, I'm in the legal system technically. I'm
Mm-hmm.
on probation. I know what it's like. so I have that angle working for me. But
Yeah,
I'd like to
there's
go
a lot
see.
of psychopaths that like say, "Oh, nobody wants to help me. I'll help myself." Like Patrick Gagney, she's a therapist. There's also a man in the UK that's a life coach and he's a psychopath. Like maybe that's
Wait,
the route to go into
well,
instead of
what's the name of the what's the name of the man? What's the name of the man?
uh, I have to Google him, but I have my other phone. Is it okay if I Google someone while
You
on
could
Zoom with
you
you?
can send me it after on
Okay.
WhatsApp. That's fine. You just send me it.
Yeah.
But I know of Patrick Gagney. I apologize if I'm butchering that. But
Yeah. I'm
no,
not sure if she's still practicing, but she's a therapist. And then there's a guy and they're both people that like over time like they learn to like manage their psychopathic behavior. And I think it's something that happens over time. With me when I was like your age, I felt little to nothing. And it wasn't until I got into my 30s that I even wanted to date. Like it's
I know. See, I want to date now. There was a I was waiting for the bus to go to work, and this girl, and she was just my type. She had this yeah, and I think it's partly because so when I was 15, I lost my virginity to a girl that had black hair, very long, parted in the middle. So I think that's kind of been like a sort of subconscious psychological precursor to my type of women. And this girl she do you know what she looked like? Have you ever seen the film Career Opportunities with Jennifer Connelly? Right, if
I
you
know who
Google
Jennifer
that,
Connelly is. Yeah.
she looked
I'm gonna
exactly
Google
like a
Jennifer
young
Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly at that age. About like she was, I was 15 and she was 16, 17, something like that. She was like a year or two older than me. But
Mm.
she looked exactly like Jennifer Connelly in Career Opportunities. And so that's sort of been like the mold, the kind of but this girl at the bus depot, she looked exactly like that, and she wouldn't stop looking at me. So I thought, I'll say something to her, and I I think I said like literally one or two sentences, and then I just my I just got on the first bus that pulled in and left, and
Aw.
I know, well, I don't have any, and this was one thing that I said to the therapist, and I actually have it written down here. I said to the therapist, who said, well, I'm here because I want to reduce my paranoia. I want to be able to
Mm.
build and, initiate and maintain long-lasting positive relationships and be more financially responsible. That was another one. But again, no therapist will see me. So, I'm always thinking like, oh, you're just going to screw me over in a year or two. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
But
just the mindset I'm stuck in. So I'm going to have to work it out on my own.
Well, that you
yeah.
said someone's gonna screw you over within a year or two. Do you mean like a woman, like any woman that you would
Yeah,
be interested in? I see.
yeah. I don't get me wrong. I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think it's going to be great, but I just think that within a year or two or less, whenever it is, I just think that it's going to eventually turn on me. So that's just
Yeah. And
that's
that's
just the
something that you should gosh. Yeah, like you have valid reasons for wanting to go to therapy. Like it's not to manipulate your therapist. Like you said, you have
yeah, I couldn't care
paranoia,
about
you
that.
have Mm. Wait, what did you say?
I so literally couldn't care. The reason that I want to go through. I mean, again, no therapist on the NHS will take me, so I have to go. Well, I would have to go to private therapy, which means it's costing me money, which means I need to actually care about it to want to do it. But
But you deserve not to be a paranoid person. You should care about yourself enough to want to get therapy to not be as paranoid as you currently are.
dude, that's a weird. to say that you deserve not to be a paranoid person, it kind of reminds me. My dad said to me once, it's kind of like a weird thing. My dad said to me a couple of years ago, he said, "You act like you're the only person who deserves to be thought about." And that's like I remember hearing that and being like, "Hey, that's kind of weird," but I don't disagree with you, but I just can't really make sense of the thinking. Like I would never think that.
I think your dad said a lot of messed up things to you.
But no, but they
Sorry.
were no, they were true. Like he, like when I was, it was the day before I was in his flat, and it's a studio flat, and I was there. I think I had dinner. He cooked hoisin duck with rice and some vegetables, and we sat down after the meal, and I he said to me, "Oh, are you doing anything like this week?" Because it was on a Sunday. And I actually said to him, well, I said, I'm actually going to have a psychiatric like appointment on Monday. And he said, oh, he said, what's that for? And I told him the truth. I said, I've been looking into my mental health and some things and, experiences I've had. And I said, I've been looking at some, medical info. And I said, I think there's a possibility that I didn't explain to what ASPD was, but I said to him, I think I might be like a very psychopathic individual. And he looked at me for, I mean, literally, he just looked at me straight away and he said, I've thought this about you for years. He said, like, since you were a teenager, he said, I have always thought it, but he was shocked and amazed that I had said it. But, and when I
May I
asked
say
him,
something? Okay,
yeah,
continue. Um, so I've had a similar conversation with my mom. Like, so I don't identify as a psychopath, but my mom said that I was very creepy. Her exact words were, "You was one little creepy bitch." Like that's what my mom says. And I'm horrible at trying to fake her accent. But like I was like, why was I creepy? And if I was creepy, why didn't you get me any help? And they just let me be creepy as a child. And now I'm a socially awkward adult, like I don't understand. Like, if your parent thought you were a psychopath, why didn't they try to treat that when you were displaying psychopathic behaviors? Like, my
well,
mom said that I would just stare at her or stare at my aunt, and I would just be looking at them like I would be looking at a TV. And I was like, yeah, because I didn't understand anyone. Like, I was trying to learn how to be like normal, and they thought I was just being creepy when I was being an observant child because I was autistic. So if your dad thought that you were a psychopath when you were a child, why didn't he try to remedy those psychopathic behaviors?
yeah, well, I asked him that and my baby's mother. I asked them both of this, and they both gave the same answer. They said because how do you tell a psychopath that they're a psychopath? And I thought, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, well, my baby's mother especially, and my dad as well. To be fair, they both said because we never know how you're going to react. They said you're very like unpredictably aggressive at certain things, so they didn't want to put themselves in the firing line, so to speak. But
But when you were
he
a
was very
child, like they didn't want to tell you when you were a child because you were.
well, like even like my mother, she's always worked in like she's always worked with children in schools, and like when I was younger, I mean, I'm talking like 13, 14 years old. We had a dog, and I used to like the dog was afraid of the vacuum of the Hoover. So like I used to get the Hoover, I used to turn it on, and I used to like raise the Hoover above the dog, like above its head, and she would like bark fiercely, and she would be very scared and things like that. Like I'd never like I'd never physically torture animals, but the family dog. would be, I used to enjoy getting fear out of the family dog. And the way in my brain it would work is that I love the dog. I can get this reaction out of the dog. I love the reaction. Therefore, I love the dog. Like that. Like that's my. Jamie knows. Jamie understands. But that was, and my
Okay.
mum even said to me, I remember vividly, she was washing dishes at the kitchen sink, and because the dining room and the kitchen were like kind of like one room, the wall got knocked down between them, and so I was like, I mean, essentially, I was bullying the dog one day with the hoot. I think I had a stick actually, and I was waving a stick right next to its head, and the dog was like freaking out, and my mum said to me, "There's something wrong with you. Why do you enjoy seeing?" The dog's name was Belle, French for beautiful, after Beauty and the Beast is called. It's called like Belle Ella something or other. And I came up with the dog's name, and she said, why do you like scaring Belle like this? She said, there's something wrong with you, and she tapped her head as she said this. And me being me, I looked at her and I thought, you're just stupid. I thought you're stupid and you don't know what you're talking about. But
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of
but like that clearly should have been like, like this young kid who's like 13 is enjoying scaring the dog, and like she just didn't get, like she didn't even think to get any help for me or anything. Like I was
mm,
never psychologically analyzed as a child at all, but the signs
mm,
were there. But some of the signs went under the radar. So like stealing from a lot of shops. I used to steal, like every time I was outside, I would steal like a can of Coke, a chocolate bar, and it was every time, I had to do it, and like, or like lying as well. I got caught out lying quite a lot because lying is kind of like, as you're a kid, you're learning it, but you get better I'd say round about when you start hitting puberty, you get a little bit better at it, you're a little bit more wiser and
did you
things like
lie to
that.
manipulate people, or was it just because you had the urge to lie?
It was more, well, it's like it's the urge to lie more than anything. It's just lying for the sake of lying. My probation officer, he actually, because he's got a degree in criminology and he's got a degree in psychology, and so he ran me under the psychopathy, the PCLR, the psychopathy checklist revised, and he scored me at a 32 out of 40. And
Mm. When I was a kid, I used to lie, but it was more of a way to like protect myself. I actually didn't enjoy lying. Um, and I think like being undiagnosed, being a person that was autistic but undiagnosed for so long, like I would lie, because I didn't want people to know that how weird I was. But it wasn't because like I wanted to like lie. Like I didn't get anything out of it. I wanted to fit in. So it was more like my lies had like a function. And now that I'm older, like people are like, well, do you still lie and, blah, 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 or did you lie to manipulate? But like, I feel like the best manipulators are honest. Like, honesty is the best way to manipulate someone.
yeah,
And yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
because I recently had my first hookup. And at first I was like, I'm gonna mask it and I'm gonna try to be a normal person. And then this person still wanted to talk to me after I was like, I don't feel anything for you. And he's like, that's okay. And I was thinking like, what? But like, yeah, like honesty is the best way to get what you want because people expect you to lie to them, but like when you are honest, like people don't expect that. Like that's something that is like, oh, what? Wow, this person's being real with me. So it's like people are more they let their guard down and they're more vulnerable and they're more like open to letting you in their life. Like after I was diagnosed with ASPD, I was like, okay, I'm not ever going to tell anyone that I have ASPD. And it wasn't until I started saying, okay, I'm just going to be honest and tell people I have ASPD that like I started getting friends and like people wanting to date me and stuff. And I was like, this is crazy because when I was pretending to be normal, I had no friend. I had one friend. And then after I was trying to be my authentic self, I'm having all these, people wanting to get to know me. So honesty is the best form of manipulation because we don't live in a world where people expect you to be honest. Like as sad as that sounds, like we live in a world where people expect you to lie. So when you're honest, like even if you're saying the most craziest stuff, like people like you more, And I thought that was crazy, but that's the world that we live in, you know. I didn't even know why was I talking. Oh yeah, because you said that you used to lie as a kid. Yeah, but now being diagnosed with alexithymia, like things make more sense because like, well, do you feel guilt? Like, yes, I feel guilt, but I feel it cognitively. So it's not like I don't feel things. I just intellectualize my feelings. Or sometimes it's more like physical. But that's what I think a feeling is. It's physical, because you can feel it.
Yeah. See, with
Physical, like hunger, like you, oh, I feel hungry,
Well,
tired.
it's so weird because for me, like I don't feel hungry until like I'm like starving. And then I'll eat like a whole day's worth of meals in like one sitting. That's why I'm chubby because I don't feel the hunger unless I'm starving. I don't feel tired. I just pass out. Like part of the reason why I was going through psychosis wasn't just because of the emails and stuff in my personal life, but it's because I don't sleep. Like I've had a sleep study done and they're like, "Oh shit, like you didn't sleep for 2 days." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, are you having psychosis? Like are you seeing things that's not there? Are you hearing things that's not there?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." So like I can go a few days without sleeping and the psychosis like kicks in like all at once. It's like 3, 4 days worth of psychosis in like one day. And I'm like I'm just like losing my mind.
And you
So
think the psychosis is from the lack of sleep?
well, that's what the doctor said because I was tested for schizophrenia and I was even put on schizophrenia medication. And they said I don't have schizophrenia. They said I have short sleeper syndrome.
Mm.
And when I don't sleep, like I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I'm fine. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I'm fine. I didn't sleep for 4 days. I'm fine. And it's usually on the fifth day where I lose my mind.
Mm. Is it that you don't feel like sleeping or you can't sleep or what? This is interesting. I've never heard of short sleeper syndrome. This is very interesting to me.
neither have I.
A lot of people in the military have it. Talking to military people. Um, so I only sleep like 3, 4 hours a night. Like obviously getting 6 hours or 8 hours of sleep would definitely be better for my body. But like I can function
I
on
know,
three
man.
hours of sleep a night and I can function days without sleep, but it's on the fourth or fifth day where I start going crazy. Like the other day, I was like singing and eating Chinese food on live stream on my YouTube channel. I'm so grateful for the people that have subscribed. And that's why I said like I don't want a large following because everyone that subscribed, like they're like, oh, she's going through some autistic psychosis right now. And like some people actually know how that feels. So they're like, we're just gonna tell her like just make sure that you don't go outside because you don't want to go outside while you're going crazy but yeah, I'm on Ambien now,
Mm.
so that's been helping me. But some people just don't sleep 8 hours a night, and like I've been forcing myself to sleep 8 hours a night and then going crazy because I can't. And I think it's just overthinking. It's probably complex post-traumatic stress disorder along with overthinking, like also living in the hood, like people play loud music at night, like they smoke weed, there's a lot of sensory overload and I just can't sleep. So yeah, I can go like days without sleeping. My doctor thought I was bullshitting her. Sorry for the strong language. And then she was like, "Yeah, you just have short sleeper syndrome, so it's okay, you're not gonna die."
Huh. That's really interesting. I get what you're saying. So I learned this recently from Hawktober, where it's you go see birds during October, and it was an owl that the guy was talking about, the ranger, and he was saying that they're like, oh, the question we get asked is the owl is here and he's awake and it's the morning, even though owls are nocturnal. And then he said something that's like really disturbed me ever since then. He said, but the animals don't just like sleep, an 8-hour block or whatever. Even if they're nocturnal, they're still awake during the day, most of the day. They're just catching like little naps here and there. And that really freaked me out to think, so I had in my mind like a vision of a giraffe in the the jungle in Africa that's just standing there at night, the whole night, just waiting for the sun to rise, just standing there.
Hmm.
Is that
Yeah,
what it's like for you, Cassie?
that so part of when I was kind of dating a guy, he said that he wasn't my boyfriend. So I guess it's a situationship. His name was Michael. And that's part of the reason why I deleted probably about 100 videos from my YouTube channel. Um, because
Yeah.
like I was dating this guy and like we would watch TV, we would cuddle, he would sleep, and I would just look at him. I would watch TV. I would be on my phone. And also, Dorian knows this because Dorian and we chatted for like a few weeks. And like, he was like, why is it that every time I message you, you're always up? Like, I'm always responding. And that's because I don't sleep. And like, part of the masking when I realized part of masking for me when I was dating Michael is that like, I would have to pretend to sleep, and a few nights he would like wake up and I would just be looking at him because I was bored. Because sometimes he would tell me, turn off the TV. Maybe that's why you can't sleep. And this was before I had the sleep study done. So I would be like, okay, I'm going to turn off the TV. We're just going to cuddle. And I would just be like looking at him breathing. And he woke up and he was like, sleep, bitch. Like, why are you not sleeping? He wasn't verbally abusive, but I'm in New York, and a lot of people use bitch recreationally in New York. So he was like, "Why the fuck don't you sleep?" And I was just like, "I don't know." And he called me a psycho, and he said he felt uncomfortable, but he went back to sleep. So I would never hurt anyone, especially someone that's willing to like cuddle me and be with me, because at that time, that was when my neighbors downstairs were living here and I had beef with my neighbors downstairs. So Michael being here made me it gave me like this cloak of safety. So I had to pretend to sleep around him. And one day I told him, like, if you're going to accept me for who I am, then you have to accept that, like, I'm going to lay next to you, but I'm not going to fall asleep. And that was one of the reasons why he never claimed me as his girlfriend. That and the whole not having sex thing. So yeah, but yeah, it's crazy to think. It's not crazy, because a lot of people go through this, and I'm not special. There are a lot of people with short sleeper syndrome that don't know that they have short sleeper syndrome. Um, but yeah, it is a struggle as a neurodivergent person to like part of my mask is pretending to sleep. Like, and I didn't even know that would be part of my mask of normalcy until I started dating someone. I had to pretend to sleep when he was holding my hands and looking me in the eyes. I had to like also, like pretend to be like, oh, yes, I'm feeling something. But like for me, it's like I display my love through actions, like I love my mother and I love my sister, and I show them that love through my actions. And they say, well, Cassandra, you're supposed to know that we love you. We love you. And it's like, well, I don't feel that. So like you guys have to show me you love me. Because the other day, my mom called me, like since I came out of the closet as ASPD, as a person with ASPD, even though like I told my mom, like, listen, and I saw another psychiatrist, they said I have alexithymia, my mom still calls me a psycho. And I should just be grateful that she's willing to accept me for being as weird as I am. Because throughout my entire life, I've been called a weirdo. But it's hard because like she says she accepts me, but then she's always calling me a psycho. Like the other night, she went to the ATM to like to help me out, you know, to be like, okay, you need dishwashing liquid, you need like all these things for your apartment. Here you go. Here's some, you know, whatever. And there was like a man that pulled up in a car, and we were like out. I don't live in a good neighborhood. We were outside at the ATM, and sometimes people drive by in their cars. And the man pulled up in the car, and I always walk around with a taser, pepper spray, a knife. Like I have like 6 different weapons on me, which I can legally have on me in the state of New York. And so I just took out my taser, and I just like I pressed the button, and the guy just drove off. And my mom was like, "Why did you do that? The man was just gonna come and take out money. Like, why you have to be such a psycho?" And I'm like, "Mommy, we are 2 women that's outside in the bad part of Long Island, and this guy is coming up with a car. Like, you think this guy has good intentions? There's no other
Yeah,
cars here." And then she calls my sister, and she was like, "You know, your sister just scare me. She just have a taser and this and that." And I was like, maybe it's a good thing that I'm a psycho, because you would have just gotten robbed. Who knows what would have happened to us, you know? But like, I don't know. Like, part of my mask has to be like pretending to be scared and then pretending to sleep. And like, because like, um, I've also dealt with stalking. And like the guy that was stalking me, like I noticed him stalking me, and I just walked up to him and I'm like, "Are you stalking me?" And he was looking around like he was like slow or something. Like I wasn't speaking English, you know? And people expect me to be scared because I'm open about what I went through as a child, but I'm only open about those things because I know there's other people that have been through the stuff like that. And like what I never ever in my life thought about was like, oh, men get molested too. Because in
Mm.
some of the people that contact me and be like, "Hey, like thanks for your content." Like some dudes say, "I was also molested as a child. And like I appreciate you talking about this." And I'm like, wait, crap. Yeah, men get molested too. Like it wasn't even like a thought to me, you know? So I don't know. She's like, "I don't know how you got like this. I don't know why you're such a psycho." Like I'm just like we hung out over the weekend, and like there was a few instances where like I did things or said things and she was just like taken aback. And I'm just like, well, you have no survival instinct. Like none. You know, my mom's like a 70-year-old woman. Like, I don't know. But the guy, I had to kick him in the nuts. I had to kick him in the nuts. And like I feel so bad for doing that. Not the guy that by the ATM, but the guy that was stalking me, because he had the audacity to like pretend like he wasn't stalking me. And this is the situation, like when you are out of the closet as a person that has been through like vulnerable, you know, things, people expect you to be like a vulnerable person. And when they see you and you're not what they pictured in their mind, like how you thought they would be, how in their mind, like parasocial relationships and shit like that, it's like people are, you know, they don't know how to react to that. And that's why I don't like, I deleted so many videos, and I don't want my channel to grow because I'm broke. Like being known while being broke is not a good situation to be in. Like, Jamie, you were on Dr. Phil. Like
Mhm.
after your Dr. Phil appearance, like did any strangers like come up to you and said, "Hey, I know you." Like, did you get that?
No.
Oh,
no, you all the
I don't know if it's like a New York thing. Like, I'm surprised nobody has ever recognized me off the street.
I think it's a
no,
New
you
York thing. And
but
also
Jamie,
my address is on Google, so that's probably it too.
How's your
But
address on Google?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm registered to vote, or like I have no idea. Or maybe it was an asshole because I kicked 2 people that used to live downstairs. They left. And it's completely my fault. I take full responsibility. So I don't know if they put it on Google,
Hmm.
but yeah, but
but I think it's a New
Jamie,
York thing. Sorry. Oh, sorry,
yeah,
continue.
Jamie, you wore a disguise though when you were on Dr. Phil.
Hmm.
Do you know what? The only way we can tell it's you is because of your smile. That's the only,
Oh, you wore a
yeah,
blonde wig.
Hmm.
That's
yeah,
probably
that's
why
the
you
only
wore a
way we can
blonde
tell it.
wig.
As
That is
soon as
why I
you,
wore a blonde wig.
that's the only way that we can tell it's you is by your smile. But I mean, I wouldn't mind. See, we don't really. I don't really
Yeah.
keep up with talk shows, especially here in the UK. I mean, we used to have Jeremy Kyle. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Yeah, no, but he got cancelled because his show was like really toxic. But I wouldn't mind doing something like that. But um, but no,
Yeah.
I remember that was the only thing that gave you away, Jamie, was your smile. And I was like,
Um,
I was like, yeah, I could see her there.
yeah. So Jamie, I have a question. And by the way, I apologize if I seem manic. I am running on no sleep again. But is that why you wore the blonde wig? Because you didn't want to be recognized in public?
Yes. Hmm.
See, I should have did that. I should have did that. But it is what it is. You know, people, especially in a densely populated city like New York, like, yeah, there's always going to be the true weirdos. Like neurodivergent people get called weirdos all the time, and I would say that you and Dorian are neurodivergent because I would classify psychopathy as a form of neurodivergence, but a lot of
Yeah,
people disagree or whatever. Um, but yeah, like I think we're classified as weirdos, but the real weirdos are people that like stalk people. Like I went through a phase when I was a kid of following people around, but like as soon as they knew that I was following them, that took the fun out of it. I was like, I'm not gonna do this ever again. So I don't know like how someone could be a grown adult and follow someone around. It's weird.
So how often, like I'm just a little bit curious, how often do you get recognized or do you end up having problems for being, as you say, public but broke?
So I volunteer because I'm currently on disability. So like I can't be staying in my apartment all day or else I'll go crazy. And the reason why I'm on disability is because I can't really hold down a job. Although technically I am doing YouTube part-time, but I don't really earn much of anything off that, especially now that I deleted all those videos. So I have a church that I go to, and church ladies gossip. They gossip so much, it is insane. Like it's not very Christian like the amount
Yeah.
of gossip that happens. um and then so it's the church, it's the sorry. Sometimes I'm on the train. Oh, in my neighborhood, one person saw the interview I did with Special Books by Special Kids, and then they showed other people in the neighborhood, and then they were like, "You know that psychopath bitch? She lived right there." Right?
Mm.
So that people are interested because they're like, "Nah, is she really a psychopath? What she did?" And it's like, "Well, I'm gonna fuck you up if you try to fuck with me, but like, I'm not a
Taser.
person that like just fucks people up like." Just goes out and says, I'm gonna start shit. Like, I do not want any shit started. I am afraid of like people that start shit because I've had so much drama in my life, like going through homelessness and like just living in a situation where SA was going on, and like my drama with my family because my cousin, he is CJ. He's Kurt. My cousin is Curtis Riley, and he's a famous American football player. My grandmother had, I believe, 10 children, and my grandfather had 2 children outside of marriage. And so my grandmother, my grandpa are from Trinidad, and they sent all of their children to university, right? They wanted the best for their children. So I have a lot of family everywhere. And just people talk shit, especially in New York, especially in Long Island. So I think the only reason why anyone knows anything about my diagnosis is because I live on an island in a city full of people that talk mad shit.
Mm. Hmm.
Sorry, like I'm cursing too much.
No, it's interesting. It's really interesting to talk to you both, obviously, but uh it's just like you realize how different your own life is from other people's lives when you just listen to people talk, you know, like to be in those sorts of situations. Like nobody gossips, nobody cares about what I'm doing in my life for the most part.
The
And maybe it's
Mormon
because I'm an
church,
older, you know, older
yeah.
woman and people are like, we don't care about Jamie anymore.
The Mormon church is so different than like the black church as far as the Christian experience goes. They talk. They talk, 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 talk. So,
Really. It's
so
interesting
yeah.
too because one of my favorite people on Instagram Nedra Tawwab. Have you ever heard of her? I'll like picture. She has a book on boundaries. Uh, I forget what the
Yeah.
book is, like get boundaries, get happiness kind of thing. But
Yeah.
she also she grew up in Detroit. She's African American, and she talks sometimes about gossip and stuff. And it's interesting kind of like just following her, because some of the stuff I'm like, yeah, great, that's true. Somebody's tried to test my boundaries that way too. And then there are other things I don't relate to at all. And then I just kind of
Mhm.
assume, yeah, it's just
Mhm.
because everybody has like a different kind of background, different things that they are dealing with. And um I like to be reminded of that a lot, because I think it's easy for me, especially as I get older. I can see how it happens to people. Like my mind almost is getting calcified to where I
Yeah.
see kind of stuff like I intentionally follow on Instagram and other things, people from like really different backgrounds, where I'm like, I know nothing about kind of what this person's talking about. That's usually when I follow them because I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to be exposed. And sometimes people do stuff like they eat crazy things or they do things where I'm like, what? But I want to be desensitized to that. So I'm not, so I don't get closed-minded, because I can kind of
Yeah.
feel my mind closing as it gets older.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
really
that's
weird
why I
thing.
don't have an Instagram. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have a TikTok because I value my privacy, and I do like the fact that like I came out of the closet, but like I also don't like the fact that people automatically assume that I'm a bad person.
Mm,
Um I hate that because like yes, there was a period of my life where I was doing bad things, but like I wasn't doing bad things because I enjoyed doing bad things. I I was a young person and I was angry because I was a hurt person and then I was hurting other people. But in my mind, I justified hurting people because the majority of the people that I hurt were people that bullied me in high school. Like I went to a predominantly like Caucasian high school and I got bullied. And this was before like there was MySpace, this was before like social media and like, zero tolerance on bullying and all this stuff. So
mm.
it was pretty intense. So when I got older, I was like, I'm gonna ruin her life. I'm gonna ruin his life. And talking to a therapist about that, like someone that hasn't been through trauma, whether that be like, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, like they would just be like, why would you do that? Like why would you want to go to that extent? Because I was trying to find ways that weren't illegal to like hurt people. Which is a whole nother level of like fucking up people's lives. But I was like, she spit on me when I was in second grade and she called me an ugly N-word. So now I'm gonna catfish her husband. Like that was like my, thought pattern. And like I'll send it to her and blah blah blah. And like I was like, this is what she deserves. And like anyone, like without knowing the backstory and the trauma, because like I was a bullied person, right? And then once I like got out of high school, I became a bully, but not like physically. Because that's the difference, I think, between men that engage in psychopathic behavior and women that engage in psychopathic behavior. Like it was very indirect, and it wasn't in any way that could be deemed as illegal. It was like more, social.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I'm no longer like that. And I believe in karma. I believe in God. So God will handle the people that hurt me. I'm no longer gonna, think I'm not gonna try to think about, getting revenge or whatever. Like one of the people that assaulted me as a child is in jail. I believe he's getting out soon or he either already got out, but he served time for that. And I'm just putting it in God's hands because if I never got help, because I did get a few years of therapy, if I never got help, I probably would have ended up unaliving like the men that assaulted me as a child.
Mm.
Because like they're like in their 60s and 70s now,
Yeah.
and guns are the great equalizer.
Yeah. This is
But I put it in
interesting.
God's hands now.
Yeah, amen. This is interesting. I have kind of a question for you both. I did recently, it was a class on espionage, and they just wanted like a guest speaker to come in and kind of talk about like psychopaths. And like I think the idea of the class was primarily when, let's say you're like in the American CIA or something, and then you're trying to recruit people, local people in whatever country you're in, to spy against their own government, right? And what might lead people to make that sort of choice to spy against their, or to participate, with a foreign government's spies, like, I don't know, like Venezuela or something. So you get a local Venezuelan to agree to, give you the blueprints for the factory that he works at, or whatever the information is that you're doing. So they're kind of asking me about like the motivations of psychopaths. And I was talking about how, like, unlike maybe like a narcissist who actually does care about praise, and Dorian does care a little bit about praise or
Yeah,
people's
it's
opinions
like
we've talked about before.
with me, it's like I enjoy the attention and the praise and all of that, but I don't need it. I could perfectly I could live on an island, and as long as I had enough things to do like by myself, like I'd be happy. I wouldn't be. I don't have this. I don't need praise. I like it. That's the difference between me and just the, as you said, Jamie, in our last appearance, is the primary and narcissistic personality disorder. I don't need the praise and affirmation. I just like it. I enjoy it, but I don't need it. I'm perfectly comfortable with my own opinion of myself, and I think that's like a very much a giveaway of the ASPD, is that I don't need your admiration. I like it. I feed off of it, but I don't need it.
Yeah, that's what I said. So I even said, sometimes if somebody's complimenting me, I'm suspicious, rather than accept it because I think this person's trying to manipulate me. So then I
Yeah,
said,
yeah, I have that as well. I'm immediately look. I'm like, I'm judging you. If you're complimenting me at random, I'm judging you very hard, but you won't know. And I'm just like, I'll try and let them speak a little bit more, see if they slip up, things like that.
But what if they're complimenting you so that you can like them? Because I compliment people all the time, and I just do it so that like they would be nice to me. Like it's not, I don't think it's
But isn't
nefarious.
that, yeah? But isn't that manipulation still?
What if you mean the compliments? Like what if it's not just like lies? What if it's like true?
so I think
I
this was
could,
kind of the whole point of this class, is that people are motivated by different things, was the interesting
yeah,
thing. So that's why I was thinking about like you, Cassie, and I feel this way too. Like it seems like you are motivated before therapy about a little bit like of revenge, right?
Of course, yes. I was a completely different person than I am now. I was ruthless. Like and I try not to be like that again because that person would be in jail. Would
Yeah.
eventually probably end up in jail.
Yeah, exactly. And now post therapy, what would you say is like a motivation? Like if somebody was trying to kind of get you involved in something, it doesn't have to be espionage, but it was just interesting to think what motivates people? What would motivate somebody to choose to kind of opt into something or not?
right for me. So right away, I think you have to appeal to. You've got to appeal to someone's sense of morality, because that's what everyone holds at their core. What's right and wrong. I think that's what everything boils down to for most people.
You really feel that way,
Yeah.
Dorian? Like tell me, so like how would somebody kind of like appeal to you then about espionage or anything? Like they would, you have a
It
sense of
would have to
morality?
be for me personally. It'd have to be for my gain. It's what do I gain from this? If I don't gain anything, I'm not interested.
Mhm.
It's black and white as that.
Well, then what are you saying
Yeah.
about morality? You think that's normal people's stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Other people definitely. People
But
don't want to.
morality Sorry,
Oh, God.
continue.
No, I was finished.
But morality does exist though, because like I bitch all the time about how broke I am, and I've had like people that I would say are psychopaths tell me, well, if you engage in this, sexual act with me, I'll pay you. And I've said no when like I really do need money, and I've said no because like I I don't want to do that. And it's not that the fact that I think like I do not think less of sex workers. Um, I support any woman in the way that she makes money, but like for me, it's like that's just something that I don't want to do. So like yeah, like morality for me, like right and wrong, like to me that person is wrong because like they know that I wouldn't do that. So I said no. And like I felt like morally it was a very hard thing to say no because like money, like I need money. But then it's like, is money worth me hating myself? You know? Morality does play a part in decision making. I think it does. Because nobody knew. Like I could do something like that and nobody would know. I would just not tell anyone.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, well, could you not just do it and then you don't have to tell anyone. Like
But I
that's
would
just
know.
like I mean again I'm very like you seem very like morally like rigid and
Yeah.
I mean there's certain there are things about myself that I won't sacrifice. It's like I have a code like going back to chivalry. I won't sacrifice that for anything. I admire chivalry to the highest degree, and that's the way I'll always be. But I wouldn't even. I don't think I mean, obviously everyone's different, but me, I wouldn't just allow. Like I'd do everything to prevent myself from even being in that position in the first place. Like no matter what I had to do.
Well,
But
that's a difference because you're a man. You would never be in that position where someone like tries to pinpoint your vulnerability and like take advantage of you. Because I mean,
yeah,
maybe
there's gender differences. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
yeah, yeah. Like and saying no to that is very, very hard. Like as someone that is broke, it's very, very hard. I think that individual knew that, but I don't know. Like for me, like it's like, but then again, I've done recently, and I think that's probably part of the reason why I've been having a mental breakdown is I've been doing things that are not like morally sound to me. Um, like recently when I was seeing a therapist, she was like flabbergasted that I've never had a hookup. And she wanted me to go and explore my sexuality. And I did it. And I totally messed up some guy's life because I was pretending to be a person that I wasn't. And he was attracted to a woman that he thought, oh, wow, her and I vibe, we have chemistry, the sex is awesome. And it was like, no, like you were attracted to the person that I was pretending to be. And like as an autistic person and as someone that is like constantly confused when it comes to social interactions, like I'm learning like crap, like I can't just like, you know, like try to mask or try to figure out, am I gonna like this or am I not gonna like this? Like if I don't think that I'm gonna like doing something, like I have to trust myself and know myself enough to say I'm not gonna do this because now it's like, oh crap, I messed up like another person's psychology or pathology now. Like maybe when he, talks to another woman, he's gonna think, well, maybe she's fake too. Like maybe she's pretending to like me too. And it's like it doesn't come from a place like me, like because my best friend Joseph, he was like, you got to start viewing people as people. You can't just like try to figure out like why this person does this or why this person does that, and like playing games or whatever. But for me it's not playing games. For me it's like I don't understand. Like I'm a 30 something year old woman and I'm still confused AF when it comes to human interactions. So like I feel like I need to like you know, run stupid experiments in my life to figure out like, is something right? Is something wrong? Would I like this? Would I not like this? And it just sucks because like these are people, you know? Like it's like I have to remember that people are people, but then it's like, well, I don't understand people, you know? And I think a lot of people that are neurodiverse like contemplate this, like living in a world that you don't really understand, or like just struggling with like internal invisible, you know, obstacles, whether that be like emotional or like just social, and having to like go through those obstacles. It's not easy. And like a lot of people, if they view it like purely from a first person perspective, they'd be like, this girl's bad because she pretended to like this guy on Tinder when she didn't really like him. And it's like, well, no, this girl has autism. She doesn't have that many experiences consensually with men, and she's just trying to figure out like if she'd like a hookup or not. You know, and there's no easy way of like doing that. Sorry, I was
Mhm.
getting a call.
No
So
problem.
like like for me, like, and one of the reasons why I had to stop seeing that therapist is because she had like a very first person perspective, which I thought was odd for a therapist to have. And it's like, well, you should try to view things through like my perspective, like the third person perspective, instead of saying like you're a bad person because you had sex with this guy and then ghosted him. It's like, well, no, like I wasted my 20s by not being, you know, like what's it called? Like, I don't know, like hoeing it up. I don't, sounds so bad, but like now I'm like crap, like would I like a hookup? And then I'm like, oh no, I don't like a hookup. Or like, would I be more like, I was talking to like Dorian and like three other dudes that had ASPD. And I was like, would I want to date someone with ASPD? And like all of them were like, I don't think I can love you. And then I was like, oh, okay, no, I don't want to date someone with ASPD. But like one of those dudes was like, hey, I was gonna buy a ticket and I was gonna come see you and this and that. And it's like, not that I was like not being like a genuine person. It's like I just was like trying to figure out, okay, like what would I like? What would I not like? Because even though people say you're not old, you're just 30, it's like I feel like I'm old because I want to like have a baby one day, like I want to like push a baby out of me, and like I only have like 4 more years to do that, and like I'm freaking out because when I was in my 20s, like I was just so angry and I was such a hurt person and I was busy hurting other people, you know, cuz like I went through just years of like my mom beating my ass for like being weird and autistic, and me not knowing that I was weird and autistic and getting my ass beat, and then like being raped in church, and it's just like and then being bullied in school, that like I it corrupted me, you know. And then like it took a couple years to like realize that like, oh, my trauma is not my fault, but it is my responsibility to fix. And now it's like I'm trying to play catch up in life, but like this disorder condition of alexithymia, or whatever you want to call it, it's hard because it's like it's hard for me to view people as people, because for a long time I feel like people didn't view me as a person, you know. Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, I loved it. Yeah, it's very insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I actively try not to objectify people, but like uh, dating in my 30s, when I don't really have much experience with dating, like I find myself in the position where I'm like objectifying men. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh no, like I'm doing the exact same thing that I don't want them to do to me. Like, but it's hard, you know, because I wish I could be a typical person. Like I wish I had a neurotypical brain, but I don't. And like I could cry about being different, you know, or atypical forever, but it's like, okay, well, I just have to accept this. Like I had a an MRI done, and one neurologist was like, actually, you are a psychopath. You have an underdeveloped amygdala. And I was like, oh damn. And then another neurologist, because I wanted a second opinion, said, you have the brain of someone that's been through trauma. So, like, yeah, I'm just trying, like, and both things, you know, could be true, maybe a little bit more than the other as far as being through trauma and the effects that that has on the brain, you know? Because, like, my mom, she's like, well, do you love me? And it's like, well, I call you every day. Like, I have a timer on my phone that says, call mom. I have a timer on my phone that says, call sister. Like every month when like I get a little bit of money, like I give it to them. Like I show them my love through my actions. Like me, like putting my taser towards that guy in the car and like taking the knife out my boot. My mom was like, "Oh, you could have killed us." And it's like, "No, I was protecting you because I don't know what would happen because we're both women, you know?" But like anyone looking from a first person perspective would be like, "This man just drove in his car past an ATM and there was these two black ladies, one an older black lady taking money out of the ATM, and the other one was holding a taser, and she was taking a knife out of her boot, saying, 'You better not rob us!'" You know, so it's like anyone that viewed that would be like, "Oh, that bitch is crazy," but someone else would be like, "She's been through some stuff," you know. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, I liked it a lot. I actually think it's interesting as somebody who like I identify with some of the things that you have said, including like the awkwardness of trying to figure things out late in life, later,
Mhm.
let's say later in life, than you would have been able to figure it out if you were neurotypical. So I remember, in therapy when I was figuring out like my own feelings. They were so weird to me. I was like crying something more and then being like, why am I like crying? It doesn't make sense. And it seems like juvenile a little bit to other people. And I think it can kind of seem a little self-centered to other people that you're like so kind of focused on learning your own self, learning the things that you want, learning the things that you don't want. And I identify with those things. I think that that is, I have thought of it as like a late kind of emotional puberty for myself. That's how bad it's been. And that's how long it lasted too, was like 3 years of going through like a particular period of just feeling like everything was a little bit messier than I was used to, emotionally messier and relationship messier too. I'd say stuff that I regretted, I would do stuff that I regretted, and I think that making mistakes like that, we have a lot of charity, I think, as a society for like when children do it, but adults sometimes need to learn too. And
Yeah.
sometimes they need to learn the lesson that they should have learned as a child, and they didn't. And so I think if we have charity for the adults when they're going through that, for anybody who's going through that, trying to figure things out, it's not like you can just figure it out perfectly the first time. And so I had like a lot of grace for my own self for the mistakes that I made, and was just quick to say sorry, like, hey, I'm sorry. I don't even know if I would do anything differently, but I'm sorry for what happened, and I'm sorry if I hurt you.
Yeah, yeah. I can completely relate to that because there's times where I have like a delayed emotional response to something like
Hmm.
that would happen like a day ago or a week ago, a year ago, and then I sit there and I think about it and I'm like, this is making me angry. But at the time, like I didn't respond. Like I was like, I don't care. Like and now I'm like, I care and I'm angry, you know? So it's like that delayed emotional response. And then if something traumatic happens on top of that, like then it's like everything that happened all at once, and then you're crying and you're like, why am I crying? Like, like I've had situations like that too. Um, yeah, and I think it does come from like childhood, like growing up with like my mom was a single mom and she had a few jobs and she didn't have time to like figure out like what was going on with me or my sister. And my sister was a my sister is, because she's still alive, a neurotypical person. So like even she, like after I told her what happened to me in that church, she was like, why didn't you stay away from him? He was creepy. And I was like, you were 6 years old and you were able to identify that somebody was creepy and to stay
Yeah.
away from them. Like I was like 9 years old, but in my mind, I was probably like 3 or 4, because I wasn't emotionally developed. Like maybe I had the IQ of a 9-year-old, but I had the EQ of maybe like a 3-year-old. And
Right.
like
Okay.
that. Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that do you know what that reminds me the thing that you said about crying, Jamie. I was going to mention it on the last episode and I forgot, but the so I I was thinking about, so I've only ever been emotionally bonded to one person in my life. Um, and one night I was sat in here thinking about them. I haven't spoken to her in maybe a year, over a year. It's been more than a year. And you know, they're out of my life for good now, for the better. But I was thinking about them, and so crying with me, it's kind of like an allergic reaction. You know, you have all the like you have the physical symptoms, like the shortness of breath, and like I can't cry properly. So you know that moments where you're crying and it starts to go to your gut. It's like there's like a bit of a roadblock there, so to speak. And but I had like the blocked nose. This wasn't like I think what people call like sexy crying, like it was ugly. It was like ugly, blocked nose. You know, I was properly crying. Well, trying to. It was like my soul wanted to cry, but my body wouldn't allow it, if that makes sense. And that was several months ago now. But but as soon as it was done, it was literally like I had like a bee sting or something. It was like as soon as it was over with, it wasn't like this. It wasn't a sad experience. If that makes sense, like I wasn't sad when I was doing it. I mean, maybe I think if I was not attached to it at all because it didn't feel sad. Maybe my body was sad. I'm not sure, but and then as soon as it was over, I was thinking like, right, I need to wipe my eyes so I can see. I need to blow my nose so I can breathe. And it was like taking care of like a wound on it, like like a war wound or something. It was like, right, I need to do this and that to repair myself back to normal. And then once I'd done that, I went back to being normal, excuse me, and doing what I was doing. And but that's the one experience I've had of crying in recent years. Um, Really
But
weird.
that's
I didn't even realize.
amazing.
Yeah, good for
Sorry.
you, Dorian. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
like that's
can't.
amazing that you're able to cry and amazing that you're able to emotionally bond to another human being.
I was, but it didn't end so well. I'll say that much. Um, I mean, this was when I was 16. Like I said, I'm a couple of weeks shy of turning 24 now, more or less. But but now, like, I'm not even emotionally bonded to my own child. I care for him in my own way. You know, I'll guard him with my life. But there's things like when he's upset and he cries, I don't feel upset at all whatsoever. But because I care about him cognitively, I will immediately do. I'll be the father that he, excuse me again, that he deserves. But
Mhm.
in this one in particular instance, yeah, it was again, it was like I was trying to cry, but I couldn't quite do it. It's like I can't get the gut feeling to cry, if that makes sense.
Wait, so you were forcing a cry out?
Well, kind of, but it was also involuntary. It's a really it's a you'd have to have been there to understand fully.
Yeah.
Um, I'm clearly the one thing that I took away from it is like I am clearly emotionally stunted. You know, I was having again, it was like an allergy almost. It was like an allergy to a thought that I was having. You know, it wasn't a sad experience. I was physically upset, but emotionally I was fine. I was more annoyed than anything. Because like, I think I was watching the TV, and I was like, I'm trying to watch the TV, but my eyes are clouded up, and at first I thought I was having an asthma attack, but I'm not. I don't have asthma or anything. So I was thinking, I was like, I can't breathe. Do I have to call an ambulance? And
Yeah.
and then my eyes were getting watery, and I was like, oh no, wait. I was like, I'm crying. Why am I? I was like, am I crying because I'm thinking about this person? Like, there's just clearly like a lack of emotional depth and
Yeah.
connection. Um, but that's not what a normal person goes through. But that's the one. I have it written down here, so I will write down things. I was supposed to write it down last time. You probably can't even read that, but I realized last time we filmed, I was like, oh, I didn't mention that weird crying thing that happened, but now I've mentioned it, so that's good.
I think when you get older, and it sounds weird, I think you will be able to one day, mourn the loss of that person that you loved. And there's a saying, and I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it goes, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all.
Yeah, yeah,
And
no. So I had that experience, but before that, like a year before that, I was able to mourn the loss of that person. It lasted. I mean, it literally lasted. I think I tried to count in my head about 6 seconds, but that was somewhat intense, but very quick. This was somebody who had wronged me, shall we say, and I confronted them with what they did. And, I know that was probably traumatizing for them, but I don't really care. I mean,
yeah,
so as far as that goes, but being in touch with my emotions, will I ever be capable of that? No, no, I don't
I
think I will. But I
I
don't
I
hold
hate that you're
any.
saying no, because when you say no, and I know I shouldn't like take this personally, but like because we have similar condition, it makes me feel like, oh, well, because I've never been in love. Like I've never been in this romantic love that people talk about, and I have tried. Like when I'm like I get obsessed and I get clingy, and like I clinged on to Michael and I was trying so hard, and I couldn't feel it, but I wanted to. So like I think you shouldn't downplay like what you felt for that person, because that was like real. And even being able to mourn them, like that is an amazing thing, because like I have never been able to like properly mourn anyone. Like it's like, oh crap, my grandfather's dead, my grandmother's dead, that sucks. But like I wish I could just like, cry over it and like mourn them. So like the fact
Well,
that you were able to like love and mourn is a big deal.
see, to me, it's not. I don't hold any value to it, but like my nan, it was my nan, my grandmother on my father's side. I never had to mourn her. She was, I went to the funeral. I read a eulogy for her, and I was only like 11 years old. And I didn't shed a single tear. I valued her highly. She was a Jehovah's Witness, very godly lady. I have a photo
Mm.
of her before she was handicapped in a wheelchair. I have a photo of her on my like blue tack to my wardrobe. Her name was Linda, and I only have the greatest memories of her. But I never had to. I've had two funerals for my grandmothers on both sides of my family, and I never shed a single tear at either of them. But they were great. They were great people. My nan on my mother's side was a Catholic. She was because my mother's French, so half of my family are in France, and she had lots of little statuettes around her house, around her flat of the Virgin Mary. Again, always very modest. Full of laughter and fun and
Yeah.
joy and all these things. But I never had to shed a single tear for them because I was never emotionally bonded to them. But
But you have loved and lost before, right? Like you love someone, you lost them.
kind of only the once.
Okay, one.
But in my own little way. See, I kind of, I don't know. I see right now, like I'm not feeling like it's not an emotional conversation for me to have, but um, but for some
Jamie, have
reason,
you ever loved and lost anyone? I'm sorry, Dorian. I'm just curious about.
Uh, I have loved people. I don't even know that I've lost
Like, have you
lost maybe
mourned?
like low level people, people that I didn't care that much about. Not lost like a big deal. But yeah, loving like deep resonant love, soul bonded love. Yes.
I would like to know what that feels like. Because I
Feels
watch
awesome.
movies.
I want it for both of you. I want it so much for both of you.
Yeah, like I watch these love movies. I'm a hopeless romantic. I watch love movies, even though I don't really get anything from watching TV and movies, but I watch them and I read like these love novels, romantic novels, and I don't feel anything, but I want to. I really, really do. And there's this like misconception that like people that don't feel love like don't feel it because they don't want to feel it. But like I really, really want to be in love. Like I want to be in love. And when I was with Michael, um, like he was holding my hand and I was holding his hand and he was like, I love you. And I was like, thank you. Cause like I didn't want to like lie to him because I actually really liked him. Like it wasn't just like a hookup. Like I really was trying for him to like be my boyfriend. And he was like, can you feel it? And I was like, feel what? And he said, can you feel how empty you are?
Dang it.
And I was trying so hard. And like part of me was like, I should have just lied to him, you know? Um, but like I want to be able to love. So like when Dorian is saying like, you know, he has loved someone, even though he can't really feel that, you know, mourning their loss, or you saying you have loved, like I am jealous of both of you guys because because I want that. I want to know what that feels like. And I don't fit the diagnostic criteria for psychopathy, but like having an underdeveloped amygdala, whether that be because of like trauma in childhood, like through, you know, my brain forming as a child and my brain just like doing that as a way to like protect me or whatever, like it sucks because like he said he doesn't think he would be able to love, but I believe that he will be able to love again because I want to be able to love again. And I want anyone that, you know, has um emotional handicaps to be able to love, because like love is a beautiful thing. Like when I see people on Instagram, like I was looking at this YouTuber, her name is Trisha Paytas, and her husband Moses Hockman. Like they well she has borderline personality disorder. So she was a very toxic person with a personality disorder, and she was always struggling to find love. And she finally found a man that loves her, and like they have two kids, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I know cognitively that that is a beautiful thing, and like from watching her for all these years, like I'm so happy for her like cognitively, but it's like, damn, like I want that. Like I want to know what that feels like. And not having that is like the darkness inside of me is growing. Like it's like, oh, I'm volunteering at the food pantry, or I'm like trying to do like all these things, but like the emptiness inside of me is growing because I don't have anyone to love, you know? And and I've been trying to find love, and it hasn't been working out. And like I think that is like how the types of psychopaths that like, and I will never do this. I will never ever do this because I don't have it in me. But I think the types of psychopaths that end up, especially men, because men have testosterone. Testosterone is very powerful. The types of psychopaths that like end up raping someone or unaliving someone, I feel like those are people that go their whole life feeling othered, not having a community, not having a friend group, and not feeling love, like them feeling love, not being loved, because I'm sure
Yeah.
I can find someone to love me, but like I want to be able to love them also. And the fact that like the most anyone could get from me is just like loyalty and respect and adoration, like that's not the same thing as love. And I think they know that because like the dude that I was trying to be with, he was like, I don't give a shit if you adore me, if you respect me, if you're loyal to me. I want you to love me. And then I'm like, oh crap. Like
Yeah, see, no,
because
see, that's kind of, you kind of described me there. So like, I don't have any sort of I don't have a social circle or anything like that. And I mean, honestly speaking, it wouldn't take a whole lot for me to actually. I mean, like I've said before, like I've there was one time where I actually I got into a fight well, I got into an altercation with somebody, and I actually thought I had killed them, and I examined the situation, and I ended up, they lived, by the way, they're alive.
that's
um
good.
but I knocked a man out in his own flat once, and he was a regularly drunkard. So I look he hit his head off a steel radiator, and well he just like he didn't move at all, and I just looked at his body, and I thought, yeah, I've killed him. So I looked around, and he had quite a few empty like vodka bottles and wine bottles, and I thought, an old man falls over, he's got alcohol in his system, he hits his head, he dies. It's not really anything to raise your eyebrows at, is it? So I just wiped my fingerprints from the light switch and the door handle, from everything that I touched, and I calmly, because I had keys to the flat at the time, so I just let myself out. There was no signs of break-in, no CCTV, and I actually thought that I'd gotten away with murder, so, or manslaughter technically. So I just calmly left the flat, and I went home, and I ate a steak and kidney pie, and it was a pre-made pie, steak and kidney, and that I just, and it was only a couple of hours later that he called me, and I saw his name pop up on my phone, and I was like, oh, he's alive, and
How were you able to eat after that? After you thought you killed a man, you had a pie?
well, what's the connection?
Oh my God. Okay, all right. I have nothing to say.
No, no, no. That's it. No, I see. I can clearly see. I can see that you do. So what's the? So to me, I mean, it's kind of like, it's not an emotional. I mean, I don't know how you'd feel really, but to me, being in that situation is more like, I need to cover my tracks. I need to make sure that even if somebody finds out, because I thought to myself, it was actually my dad, who it was. I got into an altercation, yeah, because one thing led to another. I ended up going around, but it was
So the
actually
old man
my
was your dad?
it was my dad. Yeah, he has in the studio flat that he lives in, and he had this like radiator like sort of attached to the wall, or like or was it attached to the wall, and then he took it off, I think. But I haven't been around there in a while, so I struggle to remember. But he hit his head clean off it, and his head just bounced off it, and his body hit the floor, and he didn't move. Though I remember sort of watching him, you know, like when you see like a tiger or a lion in a documentary, like watching their prey about to attack. I was just kind of like
Mm.
watching him as if to say, like, looking for like a movement or a sign of life, and there wasn't any. And so I was like, right, what have I touched? Especially because I've got that criminal mindset. I'm like, right, what have I touched? No one's seen me go in. Nobody knows I'm here. You know, what objects have I interfered with and things like that. So I just was like, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. You know, you're just arranging the pieces so that they suit your agenda. And I'm like, right, yeah, this and that. It's like, I've never been here, out the door. And then when I got into my flat, I was like, right, I'm hungry. let's warm the oven up. Let's, you know what I mean?
I would be
But
too stressed out to eat after that. That's something. I'm not judging. Maybe
see,
a
to me,
little
it's
bit.
like I don't really care if you do judge it. It's just like, oh, you have a judgment on me, like that's fine. Yeah, we all
Because it was your
judge.
dad. Aren't you gonna
I
just shake him to make sure he's alive? Maybe give him a slap?
Well, no, because then because that leaves skin cells on his body, and that
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you need
you're
some
gonna think.
therapy. We need to find him a therapist. I don't want you to go to jail.
I wouldn't worry if I were you. This was about just over a year ago again, and to make up for it, I think I got him a box of chocolates, and but he didn't know that he's never known that I thought I'd killed him. So you know what I mean. But I got him a
Mhm.
box of I think it was Ferrero Rocher, which are like these very
Ooh,
nice
that's a nice
chocolates.
kind.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
got him a box of those, and I said, "Hey," and I said to him, I was like, "I'm sorry that like I hit you." And
Yeah.
he even said to me like afterwards, like when I told him about my assessments with the psychiatrist, he said, he said when you say sorry, he said I can just tell that. He said I can tell you're trying to mean it, but you're not. He said there's just such an emotional disconnect from what you're saying, and that's one of the
Mm.
giveaways of someone with ASPD. I recently I showed that it was my baby's mother. I showed her the. Have you ever seen the Piers Morgan documentary with Paris Bennett?
I usually love crime documentaries. I've seen the thumbnail for that, but I haven't like watched it.
Yeah, so
Is it
so
that
he
blonde
was
girl?
what?
The blonde girl?
No, 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 no. Paris
Oh,
Bennett he's a guy my age. So
okay,
Paris,
no.
he's a diagnosed psychopath. He raped and murdered his 4-year-old sister when he was 13 years old himself. And so me and my baby's mother, I was showing her because it's Piers Morgan and he's quite big in the UK. And I like his interviewing style very much so. And because of the
Right.
content of
Mhm.
the interview, I was like, I was really interested in it. And we were, and me and the mother of my child, we were watching this on the TV, and she said to me, she said, "You've got the same eyes as him." And I said, no, I said, because my eyes are, you can't see because it's quite dark, but my eyes, they kind of shape shift. So sometimes my eyes are hazel, sometimes they're green, sometimes they're brown. They're very much kind of like I mean, I don't like to stigmatize, but almost like a monster in a way. Like they change.
You
So
can't be calling yourself a monster. If you call yourself a monster, you're identifying as a monster. Like you're not a monster, you're human. Like people love to
no, I
call
wouldn't
themselves
say that I am.
monsters.
I mean, it's been. I mean, like I've had people say things to like even friends in school. They're like, "Oh wow, like you're pretty mean and callous are the ones I got." But we were watching this document. But I was showing her this documentary, and she said, "You have the same eyes as him," and I thought she meant the color. And I said no. I said his eyes are they're like chestnut brown. They're like the color of my hair. They're like very chestnut brown. I said, no, I said, his eyes aren't the same colour as mine. She said, no, she said, it's just the way he talks and the way he looks. You can just tell there's that disconnect. Like he's talking about something he's done that's like really bad. And yeah, you can just tell he's not feeling what the other person's feeling. And I thought, I mean, I just thought, okay, like, all right, whatever, like that's your opinion, that's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, but things like that, like my baby's mother even said to me, she said to me, she said, "How can you just sit down and have your dinner, like you just didn't nearly like kill someone?" And to me, that's kind of like, oh well, how did I? I'm like, is that a big deal?
Yeah. No, I understand and I get it. But like you don't have a good relationship with your father. So maybe if it was someone else, you wouldn't have been able to just go home and eat dinner?
Well, I mean, weirdly enough, we know the answer to this because I've had another incident. There's been two times where I've nearly killed someone. There was my dad when I punched him and he hit his
Okay.
head on the radiator. But when I think I was 15. I was 15 years old and I was messing around with my friends in an abandoned building. And you see, the area where I live in, it's very low income, high crime rate. A lot of
Yeah.
drug addicts, you know what I mean, and alcoholics, but
Ugh,
a lot of heroin, a lot of crack cocaine.
that
So
environment, may I say something, please?
yeah,
The
quickly.
like the hood, like that low, what is it called? What you just said, like that is the perfect environment for people with sociopathic tendencies.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, like yeah, it's
I
not a
yeah,
healthy
yeah, yeah.
environment.
Yeah, no, I didn't just survive. I thrived. I thrived, and like it was, you know, I mean, my best friends, you know, as I had two of them as a kid, and you know, they said certain things to me, you know, but this other thing. So me and these two mates of mine, we were messing around in an abandoned building, and we used to always carry. We found this big. It was like a big charity shop that had been abandoned, and it's still abandoned now to this day, but we got into it through the back, and we made it like our second home. Like it was like, you know, because the fire alarms are disconnected, so you could sit in there smoking weed or, you know, drinking whatever, and it was kind of our like second home away from home. And one day, one of my mates thought it would be funny to block. I was trying to get into a room that they were in, and she blocked the door behind me, and I was getting really annoyed because I just wanted to go through and see them, and I had this axe like with me, and I said, let me in now, because I'm not playing about. I said, just let me in, and because she'd been blocking the door, it'd been going on for a couple of minutes, and I ended up getting so angry that I grabbed the axe and I swung it back, and I just swung it right forward into the door. And I knew that she was stood on the other side of the door, but I just didn't really care. And you know, she screamed, and my other mates, they let out this like shriek almost, and and we actually, because I saw the door had like a little square window in it, so you could kind of see through it, but you couldn't fully. And I saw where
Mhm.
the axe went, like right next to her head. But but I was never bothered by it. I've never been like putting someone else's safety at risk has never been a concern for me. Even now, after being diagnosed, that's just one thing that hasn't changed. It's just kind of like,
Do you
you
care
know,
about your own safety? Like, is that something that you care about?
so it depends. So like, I mean, again, like I'm a very classic case of narcissistic personality disorder. So when it comes to my looks, my image, you know, my shape, my physique, yes, like I would never want anything to happen to my face. But 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 like I've done, but again, I'm a hypocrite when it comes to that, because like when I was like I've done things before. Like I got like once when I was 14, I got a pack of bulls to chase me intentionally across a field. And you know what do people look like after they've been trampled by a stampede of bulls? You know, they don't look very great. But so like I care about my looks with the narcissist. I mean, and to a degree, the psychopath as well. In my experience, it's all about the exterior. It's the inside. Like I don't really think about what's going on inside. It's not on my radar. Like I don't really hold any weight to it. It's just that's
Mhm.
just the way I am. It's all about the appearance and the grandiosity. Like
Yeah.
before we sort of started recording, I was like, which tie shall I wear? And I was like, oh no, I prefer this tie because I'm,
I could
you know what I
barely see
mean?
you though. I can't really see your tie or anything.
Because
Yeah,
it's dark.
I'm in dark
Uh,
moments because it's Halloween. It's coming up to Halloween, so I'm being spooky.
Very spooky.
okay.
I,
Yeah.
I'm going
Well,
to go ahead, Cassie.
well, that was a lot. And I like for me personally, like the only like if I were to be in a situation where like I didn't care if I harmed someone, it would probably be like someone on the what's it called? Someone on the sex offenders list or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like I don't think I have it in me to like actually harm someone. And recently, the only time I ever harmed anyone recently was like if they were trying to harm me. Um
Self-defense. Yeah.
self-defense, yes. So I can't really relate because like my mom, like I have a lot of resentment and a lot of anger towards her, but I don't have it in me to like physically harm her because like anything that she's done negatively towards me was out of ignorance, not out of malice, because she's like from a third world country, you know? Um but it just sucks because like I listen to what you say and like I know you don't care about what I think or how I feel, but like
No,
there are
that's not.
millions.
It's like I can care, like I want to listen to you, but I'm just not. I'm not emotionally invested the same way you are. You know, I don't have the empathy to care about the fact that like, you know, like I thought I killed my dad, and things like that. But I can cognitively care about what you're saying. So like I have a big thirst for knowledge, and you know I want to know people better, and you know because that helps advance me more. So I truly do care about what you say, but I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah. Well, like I think that you and like people like you that haven't done anything extreme as far as like murder or grape or anything like
Yeah.
that, like I do think that there is room for like evolution of like your feelings and of your life. Like I think you can have a better quality of life than you have now. It's just that most people, like I think ASPD and alexithymia and anhedonia and dysthymia and all of those other um conditions that affect emotions, I think it's grossly misunderstood because like what you're saying, like if someone neurotypical listens to it, they're like, oh my gosh. But like honestly, when I listen to you talk, I'm like, wow, like you say you're a narcissist, but if you were really a narcissist, you would care enough to like want to have a better quality of life. Because right now, it seems like you're just in survival mode. Well, whether it's like subconscious or conscious, you're just like, going through the motions and like you deserve a better quality of life than that. Like I deserve a better quality of life than that. Like I've been trying, to feel love. And even if I never feel love in my entire life, like I will die trying. So like I don't understand if you are a narcissist, like why don't you want to have the full range of human emotions, have the full experience?
Well,
Because I hear this from a lot of people of like I don't feel human, but like this condition within itself is like dehumanizing. Like you have to like make an effort even if you don't feel it, even if you have no motivation, you still have to make the effort.
yeah, well, I mean, narcissism really, it's about you know, your grandiose, you know, obviously there's the crossover between like the narcissism and psychopathy. You know, we're very grandiose, we're above it all, we don't have any empathy for anyone else. But it's that excessive self-admiration. So like when so after I got sentenced for the two counts of possession of an illegal weapon that I mentioned at the start of this, or near the start enough. The my solicitor, I was we were like because once you've been sentenced, you go into like a little interview room for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or so, and you talk about oh you know you've got to sign on with probation on this date and blah blah blah, and you're just talking about how the case went, so to speak. And we were talking about because I got asked at the start, like when I was entering my plea months before, she said to me, "Is there anything that you don't want the judge to find out?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't want them to access my medical records, which they can do through probation." I said I don't want them to access my medical records because I'm diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. And as soon as I said that, she nodded her head and she was like, "Yeah, right, yeah, we can't have that." And she said as well, because she knew me beforehand from like previous criminal cases, and she said, "Yeah, I'm not surprised." She said, "You know, you've got all the signs." And but I said to her, I said, "You know," I said my baby's mother the other day, I said, she said to me that I said, she said that I act arrogant, but that I don't see it. And she did a little thing. She went, well, she said, you know, you are quite full of yourself sometimes, but which I mean, I personally I don't like, because I do have a very I like manners and things like that, so I don't mean to come across as arrogant, but I've been told like by people that it comes out, and one of the traits of NPD is arrogant and haughty behaviors. I think it's listed here, but you know, there's really there's the impaired empathy. I'm reading off the DSM-5 here now.
Mm-hmm.
Largely superficial relationships. You know, the identity is all about you know, appraisal, inflated ego. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's
But
some
what I
emotional.
mean, like, with what I was saying earlier, is that like you're a father, right? Like, if you were truly narcissistic and loved and respected yourself, then like, wouldn't you have empathy for yourself enough to like want to have a full life instead of just saying, I'll probably go to jail. Like, you're 23. Like, why are you just accepting the fact that you'll probably spend time in jail?
Well, I mean, I don't really have any empathy for myself. I mean, yeah, I don't really know what that is. That it's kind of like talking Chinese to me. You know, if I don't have empathy for, I mean, yeah, empathy to me, it's a weird thing to talk about. You know, things like love as well. It's kind of a hard one to even really try and discuss or mask in a way. You know, I have, yeah, again, it's all about the exterior. You know, empathy is like you know, it's an emotional thing that people do, and
Mm.
that doesn't really sit right with me. I mean, everyone's different, but
Hmm. Well,
yeah, I'm not
I
really the one to talk
I
about that with.
Yeah, I agree with Cassie on this, and we'll have to follow
yeah.
up with you, Dorian, because I think too, like, why are you seeing a therapist if you, but I know you've said you just want to do like a couple different things, paranoia. That's how I was too. I just went to go see a therapist because I wanted to stop manipulating. I didn't want necessarily a deeper, more meaningful life, but that's what I ended up getting.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh,
kind of want
that's good.
I want the things with that. I mean, you know, I have the goals, but I mean, I've never thought of it in the way of, do I want a deeper or meaningful life? No, that's not. I've never used that phraseology before. But I mean, the things that go along with it, like I said before, you know, like Jamie, I somewhat look up to you as kind of like an example or a role model. You know, you know, you know, again, we have the same condition, and yet our lives and existences are worlds apart. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
why can't I achieve, you know, all of that?
Yeah.
And you know, and I relate, you know, I relate to this person so much, and yet I'm constantly stuck in like repeating the same mistakes
Hmm.
and things like that. And you know,
I also look up to you, Jamie. Like you, Patrick Gagney, Kanika Bartra. Like I appreciate the fact that like more women are talking about these conditions, because for the longest time, I think like it was mostly men that were talking about not being able to have a full, range of emotions and being like emotionally numb, and like no one really cared. And it sucks to say that, but like no one really cared when like men were talking about this. And like what I've been seeing is a lot of women are talking about it. A lot of women are talking about, being emotionally numb, whether that be due to their careers or like the fact that they're single. And a lot of women are like experiencing things that for the majority of, time in the Western world, like these were things that like men experienced, like being involuntarily celibate, or like being a psychopath, or just like having alexithymia. Like these were conditions that like men were suffering with, and like men usually suffer in silence. But like women were like, oh, I don't really feel much. Why is that? And like people actually care, because like I think people take the suffering, or like, you know people care a bit more. And I hate that this is like the world that we live in, but like people care more, a bit more, about like women, and like when women are like suffering from various conditions than men. And I think like, I don't know, like I think it's good that like people are talking about this, because there are a lot more people that are going through like this emotional numbness. The internet, I don't think it really did any good, because people are alone in their rooms, and like this is the first time in history where there are women that want children and want babies that don't have them, and um like back in the day they used to call them like cat ladies, and now they're femcells, and these are women that are like crying over children that never existed, and they're like consciously suppressing their emotions because they have to be like a productive member of society. And maybe in the future more therapists will be open to treating people like Dorian and people like me, because there will be more people that are emotionally numb, that aren't, bad people. Like people are, psychiatrists and therapists label everyone in this box of like, you're a bad person, like, or you've been to jail, you're a bad person. And like, I think the more Patrick Gagneys and the more Jamies and the more Cassies that come out and say like, I don't really feel much of anything, the more therapists there will be to like help people like Dorian. And it sucks that like women have to suffer for there to be like help for everyone that is like dealing with these conditions. But I do see that too. Like I see a lot more therapists that are willing to take me as a client. And I think like it has to do with like the amount of women that are having these conditions. But I don't know if it's necessarily like a good thing that there are more women having alexithymia and ASPD and dysthymia, because I think that's like a side effect of like effed up society, kind of, because like being a
Yeah.
sociopath or being a sociopath or being an empath, that's like a trauma response. Like that's not just something like someone's like born with, like people say, oh, you're born with it, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know we're
No,
trying
I
to end.
agree that it's a trauma response. And I agree, I feel the same way about you, that like your voice in this sphere is clearly reaching people and helping people to understand that it's more common that they think, and kind of serving to demystify, what exactly does it look like. And Dorian too, Dorian has his own experience, like thank you, Dorian, for sharing about like not being able to find a therapist and everything else that you share about, because I think people are not aware that this is kind of what's going on, and so it's just good to kind of make people more aware. I do have
Not
I
aware. Not at
yeah,
all. They're not aware of the amount of people that are masking, that are
masking is a
barely
big
holding
thing.
on.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
even if they don't have a diagnosis, or if they do have a diagnosis, I just feel like the masking is a huge issue. So I really appreciated you talking about
Yeah.
that. Masking that you have to fall asleep is crazy.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for this Zoom call, because I actually turned down like a thingy with somebody that's like really thingy, because I was like, too many people are recognizing me. But you know what? I'm gonna start making more YouTube videos, and I'm gonna go on TikTok and Instagram again, because I want to help people like Dorian. I want to help young people and women, and even, white dudes, because like I was a little angry. I was like, ew, white dudes are relating to my content. But you know what? Like everybody is suffering, and I shouldn't think that like someone's life is better than mine just because they're a man and they're Caucasian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a kind of a closing experiment that I would like to invite you to try, both of you, and then feel free to say no. But I did it in June, and maybe I've like mentioned it there's something called Feldenkrais. It's like Feldenkrais, Feldenkrais. It's a type of movement. It's kind of like yoga, and you like part of the after I did it for like maybe just like two little 30-minute, 45-minute sessions, I just felt really a lot more aware of my body. Like I felt I was like, and she would say this too during the class, like, do you feel the independent movement of your pelvis? And I was like, wow, I really do feel the independent
The
movement of my
independent
pelvis.
movement
Yeah.
of your
Tell you what,
pelvis.
Yeah,
send
in a weird
those.
way. And then when I walked afterwards, I was like, I feel my body like more intimately and better than I have before. I thought it was an interesting exercise. You both have kind of mentioned sometimes, not
Dissociation.
yeah, like not when you have an emotional experience, maybe you don't recognize it until days later when you're angry about it, right? Or Dorian, why am I crying? And I wonder if Feldenkrais is, I mean, because it's not like a therapy, like a psychological therapy, but I just found it like was so good for helping me to become more aware of just everything that was happening to Jamie, you know? So I'd be
Um,
curious. I'll invite you. I think it's just you can find YouTube or whatever. Just give it like maybe a try or two tries or something. See, I'd be really curious to see what your experience is of Feldenkrais. The musicians use it a lot because it's kind of about using your body efficiently and using your body in ways that don't hurt your body. So kind of like coming from a
yeah.
place of like authenticity and body movement.
Um,
And so like musicians get like repetitive stress injury from like forcing it or something. So it's really about just kind of allowing the body to kind of guide you about the movement that feels best for it. But I think
mhm.
it would be interesting to hear your thoughts about that. And Cassie, we kind of like bumped off this earlier, but when your sister was like, you should have known that guy was a creep. I think it's so weird that society knows that there are like these known predators that like show up at church or whatever, and they're doing
Mhm.
like so little to protect children from these people. It's like they prioritize the predator above the children, and I'm so sorry that that happened to you.
Yeah. Like that, and that's the thing though. Like I say, "Oh, I'm over it. Like it's fine." 'Cause like at the time when it was happening, I was like imagining that it's happening to somebody else. So like while I was being abused, I was thinking I'm not being abused. This is happening to somebody else. And now knowing that like that had a effect, like a physical effect on my brain, like suppressing those feelings of shame or suppressing like what was happening to me to not let it get to me. Cause like I went to group therapy like after being diagnosed with ASPD and listening to other women that have been through, because it wasn't just like penis and vagina rape. Like this person did some dehumanizing, like really horrible things to me. And so these women that have been through similar things, a lot of them are catatonic, addicted to drugs, like it induced schizophrenia in them. So like for me, like having sociopathic brain or whatever you want to call it, I don't identify as a sociopath or a psychopath, but like I have an underdeveloped amygdala, and it's probably because of the trauma. But like I'm really trying to like not let that get to me, but it also makes me really angry because when I talk to other women that like say I don't feel anything, I'm like, well, how was your childhood? And a lot of them say that they were raped. So it's like, what is society, because this is a first world country like America, Canada, like England. These are first world countries. And there's too many women in first world countries that are being sexually assaulted as children. And men too. Because, like, I don't want to ignore that because some of the emails that I get are from dudes that are like, yeah, like, I'm like this because this happened to me. And I'm like, what is society doing to, like, catch these pedophile, like I know I shouldn't say the word because it's going to get the video demonetized, but like these predators that are hurting children, because it's like it's messing us up. And like from talking to like predators that have gotten out of jail and done their time and are remorseful of what they've done, it seems like a cycle. It's like a hurt person then hurting other people, and it's this cycle of just like people being raped then becoming rapists. And like what is being done? I'm not, when I say I'm known, like it's only in my neighborhood or anybody that's seen the few interviews that I did. Like nobody really knows me like that. So for this many people to be contacting me with like similar stories that don't know each other, like something is wrong in society, and like people need to figure out why the hell are there so many pedophiles messing up kids, because these kids turn into adults, and then these adults are addicted to drugs or turn into psychopaths or turn into rapists. And it's like, what is being done to like protect children, because these children turn into adults that either suppress their emotions or hurt other people. And it's sometimes it's not even that bad, like people being sexually assaulted. Sometimes it's just like a parent that has a cluster B personality disorder, or sometimes in school they go through something traumatic in school or whatever it is. And like I bet you like an adult sees that kid going through something. Because when I was in second grade, I had a teacher and she was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I used to lie and I used to be like, "I'm fine. Everything's good." And she never like dug deeper. Like, and I was just lying, protecting myself. I used to make up stories. Oh, yeah, this weekend on Sunday, blah, blah, blah. Like, I used to be like pretending like my life was so hunky dory and happy. And like my teacher, she knew something was wrong. She obviously knew something was wrong. And she never called CPS, like ever. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, what are the teachers supposed to do? They're humans, but now the teachers are becoming emotionally numb. So you got nurses that are dead inside, teachers that are dead inside. Like these are people that have careers that like are part of the infrastructure of society. And like some of them message me and they're like, email me and they're like, "I'm dead inside. You're not the only one." And I like, is that supposed to make me feel good that there's like other people that's just like dead inside? Like that doesn't make me feel good. Like it pisses me off, and I don't know how to talk about it in a way that like where I could actually do something, because I'm like, I'm not a politician, I'm nobody. I'm mentally ill myself. And these are people that are productive members of society, that if they went into a hospital and spoke to a psychiatrist, that psychiatrist would diagnose them with ASPD. So it's like, they say it's 4% of the population. It's not 4% of the population, because there's too many people that are saying that they're victims of sociopaths and psychopaths, and it's probably like, I don't even know what percent, but it's messed up. And all I could do is make videos online and try to bring awareness about it. But it's messed up. It's messed up that psychiatrists are not trained in trauma therapy. It's messed up that they discriminate towards people that are emotionally handicapped, because those people are going to grow up and they're going to either rape or kill or fuck up people's lives. And I guess like the American Psychiatric Association is just fine with that. They're just like, "Oh, because it's not profitable. Because that talk therapy is not profitable. Like, you can't really give anyone medication for them to like open their neural pathways or like feel empathy. Like, you need to do intensive talk therapy, and that there's no money in that. So they're just like, "Oh, these people can't be helped." But it's like they should really be like, "Oh, it's not profitable, so we're not gonna help them because it's not profitable." But they don't want to say that, and so they just lump everyone in this like serial killer rapist category. And like maybe if they didn't do that, there would be less serial killers and rapists. But I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm sleep deprived. I apologize. I'm probably ranting.
No, yeah, I love the rant. And so I'm going to issue like an invitation to everybody listening to do the right thing. Even if it's like difficult to intervene in a child's life, or to, say no to something, or to say yes to something that is the right thing. Like it's gotta, like the buck has to stop somewhere, and you can make a difference in somebody's life. I mean, intuition can tell you that what when and how and what to do in these particular situations. But I think so many people just feel so disempowered. And that's why they don't say anything about like the known predator that's in the church or
Mhm.
whatever. And if you don't do it, then somebody else isn't going to do it. It really has to be you. And so that's my invitation to everybody listening is please just do the right thing. Like the next time oh, here's something that I know I should be doing, but I don't want to, please just do it. Please just do it. Just do it. I'm doing it.
Mhm.
Cassie's doing it. Dorian's doing it. We're all doing a hard thing that is the right thing for us to be doing. And please, you also do the right thing. That's a hard thing that you have, before perhaps maybe not chosen to do. Do
Mm.
either of you have any closing thoughts?
I don't. I mean, I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. So there was the crying episode I forgot to mention last time. The and the therapy as well. I mean, my probation ends January 28th. That's the. I'm also looking forward as well to the election, November 5th.
Mhm.
I'm on the. I'm probably going to divide a lot of people here, but I'm a big Trump supporter. I'm
Trump
on the side
train?
of Trump. You could call me on the Trump train, Jamie. I'm telling you now. I supported him back in 2016. I had a small group of friends in school, all Trump supporters. We were absolutely buzzing when he won the 2016 election. I think he's coming back. I really do. Because I can see the American people, and not just the Americans, not just yourselves, but around the world, people are seeing that Biden and Harris for the absolute. I mean, dare I say it, the fools that they are. And inflation's only gone up, illegal immigration's only gone up, and Trump's coming back, and he's coming back with a bang, and it's happening. So I'm on the side of my birthday is around mid-November, but I don't celebrate my birthday. But I'm looking forward to November 5th, like it's my birthday. So
I'll be thinking of you on November 5th then, Dorian. And Cassie, any
yes,
closing thoughts?
yes, to
I have
November 5th.
nothing to say. I
Awesome.
don't get involved in politics.
Oh, I do. I like a bit of politics, me. And no, Donald Trump. I have a big thing actually, on my wardrobe. After he got shot in the ear when he nearly got killed,
Mhm.
there was a big front page. It was everywhere, wasn't it? And the headline on the newspaper, it read, "Shots, blood, and a fist raised in fury," and it was that famous picture of him with the blood coming out of his ear. And yeah. Well, I cut it out and I stuck it on my wardrobe, and after that, it's kind of evolved into like a bit of a Donald Trump collage, if you will,
Mhm.
like on this one panel of my wardrobe. So like I collect all the newspaper clippings from work of like, and
Mhm.
if Donald Trump's ever in the newspaper, I'll take it home and I'll cut
Jamie,
it out.
as a lesbian, how do you feel about Donald Trump? Are you also a Trump supporter?
No, I'm not a Trump supporter. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm a libertarian. So I
Yeah.
always vote for the libertarian candidate, and that is who I vote. I don't even know the name of the libertarian candidate, but I'm also in California. If I was in a battleground state, I would vote for Kamala because I think
Mm.
that, I mean, Trump's 78 and in poor health and like
Mm.
is clearly emotionally on tilt, in my own opinion, about like his rally sizes and et cetera, et cetera. So
They
I'm
want to
a
take your right to marry away. So just know that, like, you wouldn't be able to marry your girlfriend. I don't know if she's your
yes,
wife. I'm sorry. Yeah.
girlfriend.
So,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So yeah. So everybody vote. Remember to vote. And have happy
Yeah,
Halloween.
freedom. Exactly. Soldiers fought for your freedom. Use it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly. Soldiers fought for your freedom. It's so true. And thank you both for coming and chatting. It's been a pleasure to, you've reserved this time, to just come chat, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate you both for what you do, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get
I
on
drank 3
again.
cups of coffee to be able to have this conversation, but I love that I was able to have this conversation because it's motivated me to start creating videos again. Because I think I
Awesome.
deleted, like, 80 something videos.
No, you did. That's a shame. But I've drank half a bottle of rum having this conversation, so very thankful. Thank you for having me on again, and it's always a pleasure doing this because again, we're just this is the channel that doesn't care. We're not politically correct. We can have opinions. You're voting for Kamala, boo, and I'm voting for Trump, and we're not
Not
gonna.
voting.
Oh well,
Oh my
but
God.
Yeah.
you can have a difference of opinion and get along, and that's very we seldom see that these days. So I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that. It's put me in a good mood, dare I say.
You know, I'll give like one last little thought on this. My whole thought is that most of the ills of the world are from people feeling too disempowered. So I would never seek to disempower people. I feel like we need to more fully empower people or realize that they're empowered, because I find like when people it's kind of like what you say, Cassie, hurt people hurt people. Like if people were
Yeah,
empowered and they got better, like things would get better. It's when people feel like there's nothing more, like kind of Dorian, what he said about like if I don't see a therapist or I can't see a therapist, maybe I'll commit a crime. You know, it's when people feel disempowered, I find that they get desperate. And then in desperation is where a lot of the kind of the bad things happen. So that's why I would never censor anybody. I feel like the more fully we can inhabit ourselves, the better the world's going to be for everybody. We don't need anybody being made small. We can all be as big as we need to be. Yes, go ahead, Cassie.
But you're forgetting that human beings are tribal creatures, and it makes them feel good to disempower others. Like,
Yeah.
even in Africa, there are, I think, the Hutu and the Tutsis, and
Oh
the
my
only
gosh.
difference between them is like a shade, okay? Like, it's a shade of skin, and they are fighting. So it's like people will always hate one another because that's a
yeah,
part of human nature. And I hate that as a
yeah,
Christian. I really, really hate that. But that's
yeah,
just how people are. Like when I was in Germany, I had a racist try to bang me. It's like, but you hate me. It's like, oh, well, you're cute. So it's like, this is how human beings are. Like, and human beings are so cognitively dissident that they will justify like banging someone that they hate. Like
Hmm.
this is the nature of humans. Not
Well, if
everyone, but some people.
we can reach them one by one, though. That's my belief.
yeah. No,
As
we
a group,
can.
that they're very shaky. As a group, I'll give you that. But I feel like we could reach them one by one. That's why I appreciate you both for the things that you do, trying to reach people one by one. I'll chat you all later.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody. Okay.